their story. Once each week, from the darkest recesses of this universe, comes forth a collection of sentinels, a collaboration of the invaluable, a combination of derangement. Just S-4 with your host, Eric Cooper. Join us as we tear through the fabric of the natural world to reveal what is beyond. Ready? It's almost time for the show to begin.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live right here from our S4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in our studio in Cape Horn, Concrete, Washington. So, oh my God, it just took, I don't know, it took a week to recover from the fair. And we'll talk about that here for a few minutes in a minute. But tonight, August 22nd, we are having an all things Bigfoot Roundtable and a brief discussion about the fair, how it went. Next weekend is the Marblemount Sasquatch Conference at the Marblemount Community Center. We will be there live streaming only, I got to reiterate this, only on the 28th. Because we have our Alien Roundtable on the 29th. So, but the Sasquatch Conference is going the 28th and the 29th. We'll just be there on the one day. The schedule for the rest of the year is going to be up probably when I get around to it this week. And all kinds of really cool topics we'll be discussing. I've got it set. I think I have 1 week to fill all the way through January. Or up to January. How's everyone doing?
Oh, hold on.
What?
Shit.
What?
Here we go.
Doing awesome, thanks. Yeah.
Huh? I forgot to mute them or unmute them.
Okay, well they just don't talk, so we're fine. We're fine.
Trying to go to 3 days at once.
So the fair. So what did you enjoy the most about the fair, Cole?
Saturday at 10 p.m.
Oh, when it was over?
Yeah, I love doing that. I enjoy it so much, seeing all the kids and watching their smile as they go up to the different booths and see all the entertainment that they bring to the fair. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things to watch. But
it takes a lot out of you.
There's a lot of people there, and I can only handle so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. This is why I'm on the radio. Is because it's a little room, and I don't have to see anyone.
Well, the thing is, you got like 3 types of people that you see every day, all 4 days. You got the one, they walk by, they see paranormal, and they stop. And they grab their kids and pull them to each other and say, oh my God, those people are evil. And they go the other direction. Which, to me, is funny as hell. Then you got the other ones that they go by and they'll come and get a button or something and they'll laugh and try to get you on a trick question. Do you guys believe in Bigfoot? Oh, yeah. I've heard tree knocks, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of ruin their whole day because they were sitting there trying to mock you. And then you got the ones that, oh my God, paranormal? Are you serious? Are you guys local? And yeah, they sit and tell a story. And those are the ones that we're there for. Absolutely. And like I said during our break, or before the show, that, yeah, we had 240 slips of paper on all the information on the show, and all of them are gone. So that was awesome. We got the word out. So we'll see how our numbers look. So next week is the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch Conference, and I'm looking forward to that as well. That's local. Are you coming to that, Harmony?
Yeah, I was thinking. Oh. Yeah, I was thinking about it. Darn it. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I was thinking about it.
We heard you all 3 times.
Oh, okay.
You're fine. Why are we echoing?
Okay.
There we go. All right, so tonight...
Hold on, someone's got us on speaker.
Nope, I'm not.
Not me.
Not me.
No,
Not me
not on
either.
speaker.
Nikki.
It's on my mic still.
Nope.
Uh-huh.
I got headphones on.
Huh.
No, I've done it several times.
Brian.
Yeah, it's my mic. It's fine. Is it echoing? Should I put in my headphones?
Yeah, probably.
All right, yeah.
There it is.
All right, let's see. I just had it on my speaker, or my soundbar mic that I usually do it on, so I have my headphones too. Hold on.
No worries.
All right, is that better?
Check 1, 2.
Yeah,
Yep,
perfect.
Check 1. All right, that was just what it was.
So tonight, I wanted to take this roundtable as if we never talk about Bigfoot. We have no clue what a Bigfoot is or whether we even believe in it. So if you have very basic questions, great. And, of course, coming from you guys, or knowing you guys, you probably have a lot more advanced questions out there. So that's fine. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, I've got some basics and I got some out-of-line ones.
Okay. Yeah, out of line's fine. So let's start with you, Joe. What's your first question?
Well, let's keep it real simple. How long do you think Bigfoot lived? Now, here's the thing I was thinking of is that a lot of people, a lot of the reports that are out there, they say they sighted something between 7, 8, maybe 9 foot tall.
Right.
And sometimes they see little ones. But every once in a while, you get a report of something 16, 17 foot tall. They're pretty rare, but you get those reports. I'm wondering, do these things just continue to grow as long as they're alive? And how long do they live? And how big do they get? What do you think?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
You know, and honestly, I've never heard of the 16, 17 foot tall ones. I've heard, most of them.
I have.
Most on average, you hear that for the adult versions, you hear 10 to 12 foot.
Well, that's a lot bigger than the 7 foot ones.
You're right.
You get
I'm thinking, is
get
it like
up
the
into
older
the
they get, the taller, the bigger they get? And do they just continue to grow as old as they get? And how old? I'm thinking that the people that have gotten the DNA that they think is odd and it comes up as unknown North American ape, it always has a little bit of human DNA in it. I'm thinking maybe they're similar to us.
Mm-hmm.
40, 50, 60 years. But who knows? It may be a lot longer or a lot shorter.
Well,
and many of the stories I've heard is that they're interdimensional creatures, so time is really not the same in, different parallel time frames and timelines. So it could be that. I mean, it could be one of the reasons we don't usually find their remains is because they transcend into a different reality or to a different timeline or a different.
Well, that's about
dimension.
finding the remains, but how long do they live? Even though you can walk through a portal and go through dimensions, you still have to have a start point and an end point, right? Or are they eternal?
What if they're like human consciousness where it doesn't really ever stop? It just continues to, ascend and shift into new form. So maybe,
What?
you know, that they don't really drop their body. It just like, you know, turns like a caterpillar, how it changes and transmutes into a new being.
Like coal.
Like coal into a diamond, yes.
So, Joe, you look at this too. Look at
You're a diamond, yeah.
how
In the rough.
look at how old humans. Some humans get 100 plus, 100, 110. 100,
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they're
Some
part of that-
humans die off when they're 30.
yeah.
Some
so,
humans die off when they're 120.
But I would go back to thinking it's where they live, where they go, what their food source is, just like any other, if it's not good, they either move on or die off
Oh,
quickly.
yeah, exactly. The food sources. I mean, you have two ways of looking at it. Number one, they're out in the wilderness. They're probably in a lot better shape than we are because of all the exercise they get and all the outdoor stuff. And they're not eating any fast food and getting in car wrecks and stuff. But
Exactly.
They don't gotta worry
they might
about
be the
cars.
healthiest people on the planet.
Well, and think of it this way too. Which continent they're on, whether it's a Yeti, a Yowie,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
And what
don't-
part of
I don't know.
which country you in? You go up into the northern, up beyond Dave Scott, 108 Mile House, up past there. He talks about, he's heard of some of the stuff that I've heard him talk about publicly is that they get big. They get reports of very, very tall ones up in those forests, way up north of him. And I that doesn't surprise me. Not one bit, not according to what I've been told.
There's one thing you have to take in consideration there, Nikki. Our beer is 7% alcohol, unlike yours in America.
True.
However,
Yeah.
I'm not, okay. Other than me laughing, I'm not commenting on that one. You get into other countries, and like Eric was talking about. Oh man, you get into other areas, other countries, and yeah, you got the Yeti, and they're what, 17, 20 feet tall. There's all different
I honestly
sizes.
think they'd have to be.
Huh.
Most Yeti sightings by the local.
And most of them are in snow.
What are those called? What are the guys that take you up the mountains called in the?
Sherpas.
Sherpas.
Yeah. So most of them who have seen them, they said they were from at least 3 miles, but they could still see them clearly.
Yeah.
So
They gotta be big.
yeah,
That's pretty
To be
tall.
spotted.
for an
Now, if I tell you
real quick.
what I was told,
Well, no, real quick. Jennifer's got a question in the chat room that pretty much what we're talking about will answer that because she wants to know, does Bigfoot have any tree climbing skills? I've never heard of a Bigfoot.
Yes.
I've never heard of a Bigfoot climbing a tree. Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
yeah, I have. Matter of fact, when I was out hiking, this was 2019. When I was out hiking, I came across markings, like really large markings, 15 to 20 feet up in the trees, and this was not from growth. I looked at that and I went, wow, okay. And there were branches that had been broken as if they had been climbing. Now, there were no bears in that area that I know of. Cougars, yeah, but to make claw marks that big on those trees,
But,
yeah.
but if you're going by the height
that's
of the
pretty high up.
Bigfoot, if
I
you
got
fit-
told to look up.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
if that Bigfoot is 15 foot tall anyway, he can just reach up and scratch a tree.
Mm-hmm.
I would.
Oh, even a
Yeah,
12
because
foot
their
tall
arm
tree.
length would be
Depends on the tree,
7.5 foot
Yeah.
tall, or it's,
Yeah, but then again, they weren't born 15 foot tall. Some of them are 3
Yeah.
foot, some of them are 6 foot, some are 7 foot.
Mhm.
You know, you got all
Yeah,
kinds of
that's
different
what I'm
ages and
thinking.
sizes.
I would.
And the
I guess
younger
what-
ones
They can
would
climb
be
trees, I
much
know
shorter and smaller.
I guess my main problem with them climbing a tree is if you're talking a 500-600 pound animal, it's going to break the tree, depending on the size of the tree, obviously.
I was just going to say the trees that I saw were huge. They were around. I mean, very large diameter trees.
Old growth.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I just looked at that and I went, whoa. And I had spirit telling me, you need to look up. And I'm like, why am I going to be looking up? And they're like, no, look up. And I looked up and I went, oh my. And then I started tracking it and I went, somebody was hunting something below them. That kind of freaked me out.
That's it, the hunting.
I was like, okay,
you have to think about that.
Out of here.
They've been around for a long time, and obviously they're omnivores. They eat meat, they eat berries and twigs, whatever, but they eat meat. And if you have a certain size, it's a good ambush technique. Sit on the branch. You don't have to climb 80 foot up into a tree. You can climb 10 foot up into a tree, and an elk will walk below you, and you just drop on it.
Yep.
You got him.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of argument in the Bigfoot field about what they do eat. They eat berries and they're omnivores.
They're not. They will eat deer.
There's been too many cases of them packing off a calf, packing off a deer.
Yep.
Chickens.
Yeah, my rooster.
Yeah.
Yep. They took my rooster.
I was just thinking. Yeah.
So good-sized chicken still just a nugget.
He was a big rooster.
When you were talking age, I was told a long time ago, 800 to 1,200 years is how long they live, and some live longer. And I was like, wait a minute, really? No, wait a minute. I gotta start asking because it really kind of freaked me out. But then it started making sense with what I started learning. So that's something I would like to have Keith confirm too. At some point in time, is it really 8 to 1,200 years, or is it older? Because the one that I talk with, which is very infrequently, but anymore now, but Mama up at Mount Baker, I know she's old. I mean, she's like, you don't mess with her. She's an old one, and she's got abilities that would freak a human out. So yeah.
Well, if you're around for 1,200 years, you have the potential to grow pretty big. If that's the thing, and you get really smart.
Yes.
That many years of knowledge, no matter how dumb you are, you're going to be smart.
Yeah, conscious.
Well, and the
that makes sense.
Think about their interdimensional abilities that they can do. Pretty mind-boggling to us humans. Probably why I get patted on the head quite often by the hierarchies, and even every once in a while when one of them comes to when one of the Sasquatch come to visit me. I feel it on the back. It's like you get called little kid, little girl. How you doing, little girl? I'm like, serious. And it gets a little frustrated, a little old after a while, but it's because that's how they think of us. As they think of us as little kids, because we are so young to them.
Well, and the thing is, too, many consider them an ancient race. So
yes.
It would make sense that they would live long, based on that.
Well, why wouldn't they be an ancient race? The earliest known written account of anything was the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Mm-hmm.
That was what, thousands of years ago, and his constant companion was, I believe they called him Enkidu, and he was a hairy man of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Just want to break in here quick and say, everybody help me welcome Kayla and Rebecca. They both just joined us, so. Hey!
Hey!
Hello!
Now it's a full house.
Hey!
Sunday.
let's go to Arnold. What's your first question tonight?
So, we've talked about tunnels and stuff underground and stuff with Bigfoot. So, with Bigfoot, when he's underground, do you think he travels quite a distance in these tunnels?
Yes.
I'd say
I think
depend
so.
on the distance of the tunnel. You got some places that have small tunnels or just cave systems, but then you got places like, say, around Shasta. Those old lava tubes go for miles and miles and miles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
That's
they
what
take
it's
advantage
still
of whatever's around.
So, we're going back to, like, their height and stuff. For a bigger one to get down in some of these,
Yeah.
do they send their younger ones, the smaller ones, in to go, or is it like more like an interdimensional type thing they can go down and?
Oh, transport into a cave you can't get to from the outside?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I don't see why not with their abilities.
And
It would make sense to me.
Maybe that's
It
why
would
you don't.
definitely explain, their ability to disappear and then reappear miles away.
yeah.
Well, maybe that's also why you don't see, family units have been reported. Don't get me wrong, but maybe that's also why you don't see as many family units, because most of your family units are in the tunnels.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so-
think
and so
about
they-
it. If you were trying to get somewhere and not be seen, that would be
Yeah.
a great way.
And
People talk about all the volcanic tunnels and the lava tubes and the
Yes.
natural cave systems that exist. But like where I'm at, I've got hundreds and hundreds of miles of old abandoned gold mines underneath these hills, and I
Well,
wonder if they use those.
Absolutely, but I want to bring up, so Dennis has a good question in regard to the tunnels. Wouldn't daylight and dark caves require different kinds of vision?
Yes, but
Yes.
there's no guarantee
Yes.
that
Definitely.
their eyes are able to handle both.
Well, and they
Yeah,
may
it would be
not have
environmental.
to have. They may not have to have those kind of physical eyes if they're interdimensional, and they can travel via portals. They can open a portal like it's nothing. Open and close a portal like it's nothing. I mean, all you have to do is open a portal, see with their psychic eyes, go that route.
So do
And
you
many
think?
people say that portals are like entrances to caves are usually often depicted in like spiritual texts of the ancient times as portals. You will find, many of the ancient masters, they came in through these cave portals, or they, different creatures would come in through these cave portals.
Well, that's
Like
assuming that the
symbol
portal
of the
theory
wound.
and the interdimensional theory is correct. Right now, it's still just a theory.
Mhm.
Everything is just a theory. But the one thing people have said is that the Bigfoot can see into the infrared. That's why you never see them on game cameras
Right.
and things like that. And they travel at night, so maybe they do have better night vision. You don't necessarily have to throw portals into the mix. Because
No.
right now, we don't know.
No,
We don't know.
Absolutely. Nobody has any definitive answers.
No, and the reason I brought that question up is, look where we set. We set on the Ring of Fire with all these volcanoes and stuff, and there has to be tunnels that stretch longer than we know underground and stuff, so they could travel. Like you said, you see them one place, and then all of a sudden they pop up many miles away from you.
Yeah, and I've also heard that, these tunnels are used for human trafficking as well. And so if indeed the Sasquatch is the protector of women, children, and travelers, then wouldn't they be using that to maybe protect some of the children as well?
Yeah.
Jennifer's got a question.
I understand that, but I don't think the human traffickers are using lava tubes to get people from A to B.
Well,
It's a theory.
have you not been to the Mount St. Helens Ape Caves?
No.
No?
No.
All right. Well, there's a system of caves under Mount St. Helens that happened during the blowout and before. And they call them the Ape Caves because supposedly there's been hundreds of sightings of Bigfoot in that cave system.
Yeah, I've heard that.
See,
That's why
and that's cool because that actually brings more validation to that theory.
Yeah.
You know, why else would they call them the ape caves? And somebody named them that.
Yeah.
That probably had an experience.
Well, it sure as hell wasn't Harambe.
Right.
Oh no!
Jennifer's in the chat room. She wants to know, and this is something we'll probably be talking a lot more extensive later on, but are Bigfoot and UFO friends?
No.
And you know, honestly, there's been a lot of discussion. In fact, we have an entire show just on the alien Bigfoot connection. But what?
Okay, that was one of my questions.
I'm gonna say,
That was
That
one
was
of
one of my
mine,
questions
too.
I'm
too.
gonna say I know what she meant, but I'm also gonna be the smartass.
Okay.
A UFO is an inanimate object.
No,
The
I said-
aliens and
Extraterrestrials.
them might be
Right,
Whoa,
right,
whoa,
right.
whoa, whoa, whoa!
You are a
Not
smart
all
ass.
UFOs are inanimate objects.
And not all
Because you call
aliens.
yours
Hey,
Susie doesn't mean it's not an inanimate
not all
object.
aliens are from space either.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure there's some that live behind me in the trailer.
oh, God.
I don't leave that one alone.
I'm pretty sure that's how my grandparents got here.
Okay.
Okay,
From
so
space?
There are some there are some Bigfoot that are friends with alien / UFOs. There are others that are absolutely are not. And I know that
that's
from
what I would've
personal
said.
experience because they've protected me from being taken. Granted, I still got nailed in the left knee with something that the ETs did to me, but I couldn't move. And that was, I think, a direct result because of the Sasquatch, because I asked them to protect the group I was with, and they did in living detail, might I add.
So could that be why they can use the portals and all that kind of stuff? Maybe because they were taught maybe by extraterrestrials, maybe in ancient times.
Possibly,
think that's
but
a good question.
so you hear, and I've said
Or
this
maybe
on this.
it's like a.
I've said this on the show many times, in that you have reports of Bigfoot coming out of a landed craft, and on the flip side of that, you've got reports of Bigfoot running terrified from a flying craft. So I think, you know, it was 2 years ago
Depends on which one.
that I brought up the point that what if some Bigfoot are actually being abducted like humans are by some alien races?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it depends on the type of Bigfoot.
Okay, now wait a minute.
Well, how do we know that the Bigfoot weren't originally an alien
That's
race?
just
There you
what
go.
I was.
I mean,
that's
they
just what I
could-
was going to say, Eric. Go ahead.
Okay, all I was saying is that they could have originally come from somewhere else or some other dimension or something of that nature to where they either got stuck here or they go in and out of here now. But they could be their own race from their own planet originally. I mean, crap, for all we know, we could be our own race from our own original planet originally.
Mars.
Right?
Come from.
So,
We come from Uranus.
Well, okay.
I would
come
lay
on,
odds.
guys. Like, I know that the
This is an
conspiracy
assumption
theories
on my
about
part.
us. I know the conspiracy theories about us being from another planet are out there, but like, there is enough scientific evidence to prove exactly how we came to be.
oh, is there now?
Yes.
There's enough scientific evidence to prove how early man came to be, not how we ended up moving beyond.
Oh, this is a whole new
We're
show
not talking
now.
about you.
Ooh, pointy sticks, pointy stick. Get the pointy sticks out, Joe.
Kayla, we're talking about humans. Not
I got him.
So are we talking
gotta
about
remember that.
Are we talking about like the difference between, like
No, okay.
Neanderthals.
I do believe that Neanderthals might have originated on planet Earth. However, what we are today, our Homo sapien form, I do not think that we are all we are all from Earth. I believe that we are a mixture between Neanderthal and something else.
Well, yeah, because think about it. If they were abducting them, if they were abducting the Bigfoot and abducting Neanderthals way back in the day, then they could have been doing some kind of genetic changing and
they're doing all
Yes,
kinds of
exactly.
stuff to us. I mean, there's
Well, and it
so
could be
many
that Bigfoot's
things
the
in our
missing link, you know,
DNA
is
and
the
everything
Neanderthal
else.
creature.
That could be too.
And all of a sudden,
You know,
we're
that
able
missing
to
link
use
between-
more of our brain.
The alien and the human, you know?
Not all of a sudden.
All of a sudden,
All of a sudden.
I'm pretty sure there was a long evolutionary process that happened in between their tails.
Nope, it was all of a sudden. Okay?
You
Went
snap
from
your fingers
Neanderthals
and we're
and
in.
The
rocks to
Sasquatch that are
skyscrapers
running,
and buildings.
the Sasquatch that are running from ETs, those are most likely the ones that have not been taught how to, because there's a trickle-down effect going on within the Sasquatch that I know of. And the trickle-down effect is that they're screwing with their genetics, so to speak. I don't know how else
and
to say
DNA
it.
can be
Without
expressed
being
very
graphic,
subtly,
without
and
being-
it can also be
Without being graphic, they're screwing with it in a specific way, and there's a trickle down effect with that, meaning that they're losing those that are running. I think, in my personal opinion, based on everything that I already know, that they are running because they do not have the ability, like the others do, to portal, to be interdimensional. And I think that is awful, to be quite blunt.
Yeah, it would be like relative to human life here. Some humans have progressed at different levels than others, and some people are able to access higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of interdimensional experience. And, there also some people have experiences of, being abducted and sightings. And I think that some humans have experiences of working with the aliens for maybe more nefarious purposes. And I think it could be like that with, the Sasquatch creature as well. That, it could be, very individual experiential with each individual one. There could be tribes of them that absolutely don't want anything to do with extraterrestrial creatures that have come from this, from any part that's not this earth or from inner earth because of maybe what they have done to their families or things like that, or personal experience. And there could be others that absolutely want to have these interdimensional experiences with these other creatures. And it could be that they're one and the same and they're shapeshifters. There's so many possibilities, and it's so fascinating to think about.
The thing that I always think about when it comes to that kind of thing, though, is I'm not afraid of cars, right? I've seen 1.5 million of them. But if a car comes up and there's, it might be a little bit of a shady character in there, they slow down, they're staring at you, you're going to be like, ha, ha, and take off the other way.
Stranger
danger. Okay, exactly. So, I mean, honestly, either that or, I'm not afraid of my husband by any means, but if he came up behind me and went, Kayla, I'm going to jump and probably run the other way. So, could it just be the fact that even if they were buddies with these particular aliens, they could get freaked out of some of them, too?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie The Car?
The what? The Car?
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
You're really
the movie The Car, 1970s. Love that movie.
I'm not afraid of cars when you're not driving them.
Luckily, that movie was cheesy enough that it...
and so going by all this, you don't even take into account the possibility that there's the Wara, which is the alien of Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's like Chewie.
Yeah, I think we might have several different versions out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Wara is what's seen as a more aggressive version of Bigfoot. They're only about 6 to 7
Could
foot
that be
tall.
the stinky one?
Huh?
Could that be the stinky one? The one that smells nasty like sulfur? Ugh.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that there's an orb seen going through the woods before they appear. Things of that nature.
Okay, well, if you look at human civilization,
also...
Sorry, if you look at human civilization, and you look at, you take Americans, for example, if they see a plane and they see one coming over, they're going to look up and be like, hey, check it out, it's a plane, right?
You do it
now,
in Africa to some of the tribes.
Do this over a tribe that's never seen a plane before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have an entire tribe of panicked people because something was flying through the air that they didn't know what was.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. They're throwing spears at it. They're not panicked. They're out to kill.
Regarding the Awara...
Huh?
Regarding the Awara, which I've never pronounced that correctly, but the point is what I learned about from Keith last week or the week before last was that they walk, if I'm not mistaken, with what he said, They do not have footprints, what look like human footprints. They have handprints. And that was something that really struck home with me. They have prints that look like human hands. That
like you
me
said
out.
that their like toes were.
Kid you not.
What is that word?
Well, if they have feet that look like hands, that kind of gives the idea that they're more arboreal, which means they climb trees.
Educated.
They're from some place that has a lot of trees.
Oh, getting back to trees real quick. So again, I've never heard of the Bigfoot climbing trees, but they do push trees over and they build houses out of them. I mean, we know that for a fact. People have seen them. Basically, it looks like a series of logs that are all intertwined, intertangled, kind of like what we saw up at Cumberland.
No, doesn't it seem
It could be that just not enough people are looking up to see them in the trees.
Yeah, that's true. Because even when I'm walking through the woods, I'm not looking up very often. I'm usually looking ahead of me and behind me to see what's coming up behind. Or
think about all the people that are out there that don't even look at the sky as they're walking through the world. Don't even notice all the things going on in the sky. So why wouldn't they not look up in the forest?
Right.
And if they're, called ape-like creatures, usually apes climb. And so, they have that climbing ability within their DNA. So, I mean, if I was a creature of the forest, even as a human, I climb trees and am able to do that. So why wouldn't a being that lives in the forest? I mean, that would make sense.
And going with that.
Huh? Go ahead.
And going with that about climbing trees, wouldn't it be similar to a mama bear sending her kids up? There's a parent and they're walking and they send the small ones up in a tree to be safe.
Yeah, and I can see that, but again, that's my only problem. Depending on the size of the tree, a 600-pound creature trying to go up a tree, it's going to break. Unless you're talking, like you said, Harmony, old growth,
Not
or
necessarily.
a huge cedar.
I'm sitting here looking at an oak tree across my yard that you could have 5 or 6 800-pound people in it, and it won't break.
Right. And
that's
why
those are few and far between.
And that's why they're usually spotted in more old-growth places as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the same point, I go out in the woods on a quite regular basis, and how many times have I seen a cougar like that close? Or
Mm-hmm.
how many times have I seen specific animals that close? You don't just go out and every time you go out, you see all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Heard a mountain lion behind the barn a couple days ago. I didn't go looking for it.
Is that what you thought was breathing?
No, this is something else. No, the breathing thing, I still don't know what that was.
That was wild.
So moving along, Rebecca, what's your first question tonight that hasn't been taken already?
Okay, I know, right? So I guess here would be a question. Okay, so are there like different levels of consciousness in the Bigfoot community? Like, and like, I guess I would say like wisdom kind of like, are there like Bigfoot that are more like just, I guess, knowledgeable than other ones? Like, I mean, like, is there is there like educated Bigfoot compared to like you know what I mean? Like ones that maybe.
Okay, so you're talking like a deep Bigfoot versus Professor Bigfoot.
Yes, is there?
I would think there would have
It
to
would
be
only
in
make
every-
sense.
I would have to say that falls into the category of something as simple as if you want to compare them to humans.
Yeah,
There's
right.
some humans that are smart without being educated. There are people that are educated that they're not that smart, but you have different levels. And there are people out there that they're dumb as a box of rocks.
So
I think you probably got the whole gamut of it.
Well, I think like you see that in other species as well. Like
Not every Bigfoot is going to be a wise old master.
No, like, I have seen some really stupid dogs.
Dennis just brought up,
and some really,
Dennis
really
just-
smart ones. So
Dennis in the chat just brought up a good point, which is hierarchy. According to what I know, they have a hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sasquatch have a hierarchy.
They have a monarch.
Well, doesn't any group have a hierarchy? I mean, look at wolves.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's a hierarchy in wolves.
But I know what you're getting at, Nikki, and they are more of a matriarch, correct?
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Came out as mom.
Yeah, based on what I've been
My
told.
brain's not there.
So then, if that's the case, if there's different consciousness levels and everything, right, and different people at different levels, then do you think that there are, for lack of a better word, are there like extroverted and introverted Bigfoot?
I think that they would have the same.
I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like, would it?
Yeah,
be,
I love
Are
it.
there loners? Are there ones that just want to be all by themselves, and then there are the other ones that like people and want to be
Probably.
close to people?
Yeah.
I would say I see that in.
Well,
all of the species.
maybe the ones
You
that
know?
people see and maybe get blurry photographs of, those are the extroverts.
No, maybe that's
And the ones that are the introverts, they're the ones that no one ever sees.
Yeah. And I was.
And there's probably
kinda-
a narrative as well.
I was kind of
Go ahead.
thinking the same thing, that, the ones that you see and get pictures of and whatnot, those are the ones that,
are reaching out.
maybe.
Are they trying to phone home?
They're the socialists. They're not socialists, but
Socialized.
Oh man,
Social.
that's a whole other show. No.
Social ones.
Those are the socialized.
Is there politics within
Yeah,
Sasquatch?
exactly.
Oh man,
No, we're not even going down that rabbit hole.
that's a whole different show.
That's a show where they're
Well, okay.
What I
Talking
wanna
about
know-
whether they want to be seen by humans or not. You have humans that go to the zoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of them, they're going to walk along the paths, they're going to stand behind the barriers, they're going to look over and say, oh, look at those dangerous animals over there. But there's always that one idiot that wants to go over the barrier,
Touch it.
climb over the
Yeah.
fence, and get into the cage with the lions to get a selfie. That's the exhibitionist. That's the guy that they're going to get a picture of.
Oh,
Just
you
like
see
this
a lot of
Yeah.
that at Yellowstone.
There's going to be
I love
dumb
it.
ones, there's going to be smart ones, right?
Well, that's the one
Well,
you
yes,
read
and
about
within the
people that got
Bigfoot
eaten by a lion.
community, there's probably a narrative, where they're like, watch out for the humans because, some of them will hurt you, and we protect these ones, and then, they probably, tell their children to steer clear from humans, and then there's probably those daredevil ones that are like, ooh, I want that cookie that you told me I can't have, so that they want to go and
Exactly.
see what's up with us humans, or
so
even just curious ones that are like, ooh, who are they? And other ones that are like, oh, I don't want to be around them because I've never seen
I'm
anything
pretty
like
sure
that
the
before.
ones that people see are the teenage boys.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have
You
the,
know,
I have the like.
Dumb as a box of rocks.
I
They're
have
going to go out and
Daredevil
scare people in
teenagers.
cars. Yeah, let's run across the road when the car comes.
Let's go mess with those humans.
Yeah.
I have what I like to call more children. My children are a little more intense, a little more loud, a little more kind of everything than most other normal children. So I definitely can relate to that as far as the differences between and
Right.
I'm glad that they to know that they have those kinds of differences, because it would have to make things more interesting. Because when you think about it,
Absolutely.
how do I mean they gotta have some kind of entertainment. I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides rolling
I
boulders
have-
down the hill at me.
I have two older brothers, and I know for a fact that if we were Bigfoot, we'd be out screwing with people just for
Oh,
fun.
totally messing with them. I'd be breaking sticks. I'd be back there going, breaking a stick.
Yeah, and if you got caught by one of the hierarchies, oh man, you'd get a tannin.
So is that like a Bigfoot jail? Is that like
Make
Bigfoot
us go
cop?
pick up some trees.
He comes in and he's like, man, you can't mess with those humans. Now you got to do 6 months in solitaire. Or,
Solid.
Do some push-ups.
oh my God.
Have you guys seen?
No portals for
Have you
you.
seen that movie Smallfoot?
Oh, yes, this is a cute movie.
Yes.
So Dennis has
That
good
is a really
point.
good movie. It's the Smallfoot movie.
Smallfoot
It's like
movie's
about
so
a
cute.
Yeti, like the Yetis, and they're trying. It like talks all about how they are, forbidden to go to see the humans, and then there's that group that wants to go. And I just remember that movie, and it totally relates to that.
Dennis has a good
If you haven't
point,
seen
though,
it, it's really good.
everything you guys are asking. So what happens to the mentally challenged Bigfoot?
Thank you.
That
was one of my other
Okay,
questions.
honestly, I would assume
Do they have
And-
autism?
this might be horrible to say, but back in the day, like
I don't think they're
humanity-
vaccinated.
Oh my God.
They eat dirt, they're fine.
I honestly think they have a natural immunity.
They probably, so if you're gonna go by,
Well, they eat enough blueberries.
I would
Blueberries
say
and
that they
huckleberries
could-
are called vaccinium, you know.
Yeah.
well, if you go by the interdimensional,
Well, okay. On what you're talking about, what do they do with the baby Bigfoot or the young Bigfoot that just won't listen? They're idiots. If you think about it, you can go back to the wolf category.
Oh, there you go.
They have wolves, and if they don't learn to drink
kill 'em?
from the stream without making noise, they kill them.
Yeah,
Because
what
they're
I
a
say, they call-
danger
they call
to
them
the
from
group.
Just like
I would
cows.
assume that they kill them.
Adults, I mean, humans don't do that. So, I mean,
Yes, humans
not
do
most
do
of us.
that.
Humans do it to
Look at the
cows.
Spartans.
Humans call
Look
cows
at the
all
Spartans.
time.
That was
Humans do that all
huge.
the
Everybody
time.
knows
Humans
about
do
them.
So I should
They
say
would
humans
kill
with
any
expanded
inferior kid.
consciousness don't do that.
well,
I don't
you
think
know,
many humans actually have expanded consciousness.
Okay,
I think a
what
lot
I'm-
of them
what
are
I'm
dumb
talking
as
about
rocks.
is If you think about our
Yeah,
history,
there's a lot.
If you look back
There's
at
many.
like, the Spartans and different things like that, we did kill those people.
well, it's culling the herd.
It's culling the herd, and they did that
Yeah.
all the time back in the day. We don't do it now because we find it inhumane to do that now.
We
but
don't.
we use
But
it.
look
There
at
were
the
also many
superiority. Look
cultures
at
that
the
would believe that those
people do
people
abortions
came in
now,
with gifts
find
to
out.
share that weren't of the other kinds that other humans have. So they would regard them as like demigods. So, you know,
Johnny-
there's all different types of
Well, look-
ways to approach that in our human culture.
Look at the superiority.
So wouldn't that be parallel?
Johnny won't eat
okay,
his
look
fish
at
tonight,
this.
so he
Here's
should go
something
outside
for
and
you.
die.
I have two cousins that are albino. Now, in some societies, they were regarded as special people. They were treated well.
Yeah.
In other societies, they killed them because there was
They
something
were
wrong with
murdered.
them. Right.
Yeah, it was depending on their consciousness level of the community.
Humans they're not good people. Humans are basically dicks.
Humans are messed up.
Yeah.
But
It's really funny
the
that
activation
they
of the
call it
DNA
civilization,
really
but
took
it's
a
based off
toll.
of something that was actually, you know, I mean, when you think
Yeah,
of early
like,
civilization,
wow.
early civilization was brutal.
And that's the thing, like Harmony, you said we don't do that anymore. That may be true for Western civilization for the most part.
Right?
Not every area.
Yeah.
There are areas
Yeah, I
where
just
that
said
is still...
some cultures don't do that
No,
anymore.
look at what they're
Not
doing
everybody
with-
is enlightened.
No, look at what they do
No,
with abortions.
absolutely.
There are some people who find out what is going on with their pregnancy and they abort the baby.
Hey,
So
I tried to give my
it
son
is
back,
still
nobody would
being
take
done,
him.
but it's being done by not very many.
But see,
Yeah, we
It is
murder
being done.
millions of children every year.
Yeah,
You wanna bring
there
that
is
up?
There is that
Millions.
happening, unfortunately. But, you know, fortunately there is, you know, different ways to approach that as well. So, you know, like you said, you have a cousin that's albino. You know, I have a cousin that has dwarfism. And, you know, and they were told, you know, that is a possibility, and they didn't want to do that, you know. And like you said, they were revered as gods in some cultures, and in some cultures as, you know, something that should just be discarded. And
Is that the same concept as
So wouldn't that
cutting
be
off your breast
the same?
because maybe someday you might get cancer?
you know, I think
right.
well, and we can't say that all of Western civilization is that much more enlightened either, because now instead of
Absolutely.
killing people or whatever, we institutionalize them. We put them in horrible places, and we leave
Yeah.
them there.
Not in my household. we
Florida
don't.
is not that bad, Kayla.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Who says Western
I don't think you
civilization
can
is
classify
civilized?
it.
70
You can't
people were
classify it as,
killed
like-
last week in Chicago.
Certain
You know,
countries
one
or
city.
certain civilizations, I think you need to classify it like, you know, experiential. Each individual has a different code of ethics, you
A
know.
moral code, yeah.
A moral code. It's whatever your moral
Yeah.
code.
And maybe that's the same
And
thing
it's-
with the Bigfoot Society.
Yeah,
Some of them
probably.
will,
I would say that's
gather
the same thing
around
with
an
every
oddball,
society.
and some of them
Right.
will get rid of the oddball.
Eh?
You don't know?
Yeah.
Well, okay, everything from animals and up, like everything, has that kind of thing to it where some of them will kill their young, others won't, others will kill their parents, others won't. There's all kinds of stuff in like animal society and up. So I mean, there's a code of morals for every individual, and it's whatever your individual code
Based on
is.
your beliefs, which is based off of your
Bingo.
experiences in your history.
Mm-hmm.
Now moving along to
And your genetics.
Does some Bigfoot more enlightened than others? I would have to say yeah, because looking at Nikki's experience, for example, some Bigfoot seem to be able to use telepathy.
Yeah, but was that
Others
extraterrestrial? Was that originally with? I mean, did that come from them, or was that imposed on them by extraterrestrials? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think
I believe that's
just,
everyone's innate nature
I
to
think
have
that
telepathy.
was just an evolutionary process, to be honest with you.
We're all born with that as babies. I know all three of my children, that's how we communicated at first, was telepathy. So
If I had a baby
I
that was
believe
telepathic,
that-
I would kill it.
Oh my God, Joe!
Wow.
that's how they find out and learn language is through telepathy.
Okay,
If you
so
really
when are
analyze
we taking
it.
you to go get your nuts snipped? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Nikki, what's your first question tonight?
Sorry.
Okay, I did not have. I did
everyone's
not have
speechless,
any
yes.
questions when I came into this, but now I've got questions. What about Bigfoot
Oh,
Scouts?
Is that like the Boy
What about
Scouts?
Bigfoot Scouts? Those who go in to keep an eye on their tribe, their clan, whatever you want to call their family.
Oh, yeah.
Their
Absolutely.
group. Do you believe that they've got some kind of scout or whatever it is that you want to call them? Do you also think that they may have hunters for the group? Or do you think that they just, kind of a two-part
It depends on if they're vegetarians
question?
or
Or
not.
do you think that they just... Or do you
Gather
think that
some.
they just hunt for themselves? Do they hunt for the group or do they hunt for themselves?
I think they hunt
I think that some are group animals and some are loners.
I would have
The
to go
loners
with
would hunt
I
for
would have to
themselves.
go with the hunter-gatherer.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
But
Yeah,
I think they're all
culture.
taught.
Huh?
I think they're all taught, and they're all taught.
I think so.
individually.
Just
I
like
don't think
people,
they hunt
some
as a
excel
group.
at hunting, some
No.
excel at gathering nuts.
I don't see them eating as a group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either. Maybe the family units.
I'm a hunter.
The family units might eat as a family unit type thing. But
Yeah.
no, I agree. I think they hunt
Oh,
on
do
I
they get their own
don't-
individual food, or do they
I
get food
honestly
for a
don't believe
community?
so.
No?
Because if you're 16, 17 feet tall, you are eating a whole elk.
True.
Or half a moose?
I tend to think of it like you just said. It's a family unit, right?
Yeah.
And I think they work together on all aspects of what they do. They probably have a couple that are out for scouts that are looking for any danger. They have a couple that might be sitting over there picking berries and watching the young. And they might have 2 or 3 of them out that are going to bring home an elk or a wild boar or something for the rest of them to munch on. Even the murder quail that I have here, there'll be a covey of like 12 of them. There's always one that'll find a rock or a tree or something to get up on top of, and it watches everything around. While all the rest of them do their thing, that they're not bringing him food, but he's watching. He's their scout. He's their security.
Damn,
And
murder
if
quail.
quail do it, I don't have any doubt that maybe the Bigfoot do it too.
The real question
Yeah,
is
the
though:
chickens
is
do
do they
it.
like their meat rare, or do they like it well done or charcoaled?
Well, that was my
Because
other
they have
question.
fire.
Honestly, I
Do
don't
they
think...
use fire? That's a
No.
good question.
Smoked?
That
But
was
the
my
thing
other
is-
question: is how do they actually eat? Do they eat where they're just biting into, breaking
Raw
the
meat?
neck of the animal and then just eating, and then you're dealing with all the blood that gets on the fur? Are
nice
they going to
Chianti.
want all that blood all over them? I mean, you're dealing with a whole different
I
gambit
can
right
tell
there.
you they do not
Well,
eat
no,
the bones.
no. As
They
far
do
as
not
the
eat
blood
the
thing
bones or the
goes,
cartilage.
the only one that's worried about blood are humans. Every other animal in the animal kingdom, they don't give a rat's ass if they're biting into something, they
Yeah,
get a
they
little
drink
blood
it.
on them, or they bite into
Well,
a
they
bone.
clean it off.
They're just
They-
eating.
they
Well,
clean it,
yeah.
Yeah.
The raccoons might be a little OCD about that, but
Yeah, absolutely.
they got to wash everything.
They wash
their
everything.
food before
that's
they
what
eat
I was
it.
gonna say.
Don't give them a cell phone.
Don't give them a Bic lighter.
No. But no, I would think. So that brings up a couple points. Maybe that's where some of the wildfires start. Bigfoot playing with fire. Who knows? There's no proof to that. But I don't think they bother cooking. Just my opinion. I think they're animalistic in that way.
Yeah, usually when meat is super fresh, it doesn't have the bacteria and it can be eaten. And they probably have evolved to.
They probably let it.
Yeah.
They probably dry it.
It doesn't bother them. Well, look at bears.
We gotta have some way.
Look
of,
at bears. They eat fish right out of the river. They get all the blood and the guts all over them. And you know what? And then they'll maybe take down an elk. They'll take down an elk or a deer or a cow out of some guy's field. But you know, you rarely see a bear walking around covered in blood.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they worry about it.
And I like Dennis's comment. Realistically, Bigfoot smell. I agree with that, but I disagree with that because I do think they make a smell when they want to.
Well, humans smell.
But
defensive smell, yeah.
But with that, I would think if they were cooking their food, you would see a lot more campfires. You would see a lot more.
Exactly. Some kind of evidence.
Yeah, I think they may have developed the ability to make jerky or dried food.
That's what I was saying.
And preserve it.
That's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Maybe they go through their portals to do their cooking.
Never know. My other thing though is the couple cases I have heard where people have found a Bigfoot structure. It's always smelled like rotten flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So, and with that, we do have to take our first break. Tonight's going quick. So we will return with hour 2 of All Things Bigfoot.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to second hour of S4 tonight as we are talking all things Bigfoot. Just a week prior to the Marblemount Sasquatch Festival, and we will be live streaming the first day of it. So, you know, I found it interesting because I was watching people's reactions at the fair. And I had to bring this up because I thought it was kind of interesting but cool. So the older generations, like my age, 50s and above, they seem to be more into cryptid, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. The younger generations, teenagers to, I don't know, what would you say, 30s?
25, 30.
Yeah, see, they were more interested in talking about aliens. So I just found that, you know, when you're looking at statistics and when you're looking at, data, I found that interesting. What do you guys, why do you think that is, guys? Why would the older generations be more curious about Bigfoot and more believing in Bigfoot, but the younger generations today are more interested in the alien side?
Because we're going
Well,
to
could
space.
it be that the older generation they've been around for a long time, they've heard the
More
stories
experience.
for so long, there's more experience, more knowledge, and they've been curious for decades and decades and decades. Whereas the younger generation, their main thing was video games and TV shows, and everything is aliens, and the big
Everything is
movies
aliens,
were all
yeah.
about aliens. Everything in the media is aliens. Maybe
Well,
that's why they're more attuned to it.
If
True.
you look at where we're
Yeah.
at with humanity right now, we're exploring space. We're not exploring our own backyard. Everything is about the next thing that's going to get shot into space.
Well,
Right.
you also got to
Yeah, true.
remember that the
Yeah.
older generation, though, too, is also the people who were brought up with less things to entertain themselves. Like, so they just have, I think.
They're more in tune
They're
to
more
the
in
woods.
tune to like the woods, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, like recreational things and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
and so they would be
When
more
I was a
drawn to
kid,
those
my
kinds
favorite
of stories.
toy was a stick.
Yes, thank you.
That's
Mine,
the
mine
point.
was a rock,
That
but you
explains
know, the stick works too.
that explains so much about you, Joe.
I'm just saying, Joe, that's true for every teenage boy.
Mine
Oh
was
my God.
sandbox.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. My son decided to stick a stick inside of a red anthill in Idaho, and found out real quick that sticks don't go in holes with ants in them.
Yeah.
You see, there you go. That's your difference. When you were a kid, you had a stick and you played in, and you stuck it in an anthole to see what would happen. Today's kids, they have video games where they're the size of an ant, and they go down actually into the anthole with a gun and try to kill all the ants.
So the other day, you guys, I did something really great. So I pulled out an entire like 12-volume thing of encyclopedias from my grandmother's house, and I brought my kids in and I sat them down and I said, "Okay, guys," I said, "This is Google," and my kids looked at me and they're like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like,
Right?
before Google, this was our Google. This is what we had for Google.
Well, yeah, you know, and so before
Go look it up.
before 98, 99, you didn't have so much internet. So you had to go to the library. You had to go to.
Well, there was no information about aliens, though, like in the encyclopedias. But guess what? There was lots of information about stories about Bigfoot and Sasquatch
Right.
and Yetis and all that kind of stuff. So,
Well, and even before
But there were
the
also
actual
people
internet,
where you got sci-fi, you got Star Trek,
You got
and
TV.
you had all these other movies that were dealing with it. So, you know,
even before we were all completely connected to the internet, on your computer you could
X-Files.
have the Britannica encyclopedia.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You bought it on disc and put it into your
Oh yeah, I had that
computer.
too.
yep.
Friend,
I had the Britannica disc.
But going back to older generation, look what the older generation did. They went out into the woods. They went out camped. They went out and fished.
Yeah.
So they were out there. The new generation sits inside, like we were talking earlier, plays their games, but is seeing all the stuff being shot up into space, and then they go up and looking for the different things like the space station, like these satellites going on. So they're always going to, these people are starting to look up more than the older generation where they were out to recreate in the woods and fish
I don't
and
even
stuff.
think that it's necessary.
Yeah, and there were more
just
forests.
that.
Well, and they were
when we were
storytellers
kids.
too.
If you look at technology, if you just look at the technology in general, We are jumping technology. That's the big push.
Kids never look up.
And so with that, thinking about a race of people that was more technologically advanced, well, you want to see what kind of technology they have.
That's fascinating. Absolutely, yeah.
I just thought.
I
found it
like.
Go ahead.
No, I think like Arnold was saying, being more interested in one or the other isn't necessarily bad or good. Like the older generation, more woodsy, more down to earth, Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Younger generation with all the movies and everything, aliens. But if you think about it, if they came out and said, Bigfoot is real, you know what? A lot of people go, wow, well, maybe I shouldn't go in the woods, or that's interesting, there's something out there in the woods.
Right.
If the government came out and said, aliens are real, everyone's going to lose their mind and say, oh, my God.
I knew it.
It's a bigger...
It's
actually I love both subjects. Oh, we agree. That's a whole other show, too. But
yeah, they disclosed that back in
January. When they come out with aliens, that's more earth-shaking than there are Bigfoot.
So you go also look back in the older generation. You're going to go outside and somebody's going to look up and say they saw something and go back and tell their parents. I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think they're going to.
Most didn't. Most people didn't.
Yep.
And so I found it interesting, though. And I found it cool because they're both topics I get excited about either one of them. We delve into everything.
Is there anything that doesn't get you excited? I'm just curious.
Huh? Do what?
I said, is there anything paranormal that doesn't get you excited?
No, there really ain't. You know what? We can sit and talk all aspects of the paranormal all night long. Harmony, what's your first question?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so I wonder if that's one of the reasons why I love both of them, is because I'm right in the middle there. So I don't know. I never thought about that before. It's pretty fascinating to hear the statistics. So my question kind of relates with where we left off before the break. So with Sasquatch making fire, you said maybe that's the cause of the forest fires or something, So I don't really necessarily subscribe to that idea, but I mean, of course, it's a possibility. But my question is, with the increase in fires in places of Sasquatch sightings, a lot of highly forested areas, what do you think Sasquatch is feeling and doing with all of these forest fires? And are they migratory species with seasons that they travel in cycles, and then now that the fire season has extended, that isn't normally, because the fire seasons were much more short than they have been the past several years. So we see an extended fire season. If they are indeed migratory, if you believe that, then would we see new, patterns of migrations, and could that be the reason for increased sightings with the fires and deforestation? So it's kind of like a three-part question, but it all relates. So what do you guys think?
Well, I have somebody in Colorado that deals with migratory Sasquatch. They move at the end of October at her place. She's on a mountain, and they literally they move, and then they return in April.
Right.
April.
I've heard that as well.
Depending upon what the weather is doing and how much snow is on the ground. But yeah, I mean, she gets all sizes, babies, teenagers. The teenagers like to play pranks, and the adults, they, and they kind of keep a corral on the younger ones. But yeah, they travel, they migrate.
Now,
based on what she's telling me and what she's witnessing. What she talks about is migration based on what she and her husband are seeing on their property and what their neighbors are seeing. So, that's very possible. They're migrating to a specific area and then portaling out. But who knows? That's an assumption. What they know, migrating.
So going off that assumption, though, if their normal migratory area just got burned out, or if the fires are actually making them migrate sooner, I guess would be the the big question. If they are
Right.
interdimensional, then very easily they could just, oh hell, look at the fire, and go through a portal back to their dimension.
Or a cave.
And see,
Or a
okay,
cave.
so I've always thought of portals as being something completely different from what we talk about as far as interdimensional beings and stuff. So I believe that there are portal points on the Earth, different places that you could portal from or portal to, but I don't believe that you can create your own portal. I believe that there has to be a specific set of circumstances to open this. So with that,
No,
That's a quantum physics.
you as a human can actually open a portal.
You
You
are a
can
portal.
create your own portal with your own energy. It just depends on where you got to
Okay,
do
but that's not the same as astral projecting, right?
No.
Okay.
I don't think
No, it's completely different.
They're totally different.
Completely different. But yes, you can open a portal, but you as a human, unless you're super skilled at what you're doing, you're not going to be knowing where you're opening that portal. Big difference. Really
and
big
some
difference.
aren't going to know even how to do it. So there would be, different levels of that.
Yeah.
And that may also go to the education of educational point of this specific Bigfoot. Maybe some of them can open portals, some of them can't. It depends on what level they are, which is why you do see some Bigfoot, you don't see the rest of them.
Which fascinates me as to why, because there was a story years ago about a fire, and I can't remember if it was southern Washington, Oregon, or California, but there was a fire somewhere on the West Coast, and Sasquatch were found burned. Some of them were found alive, and the military came in and helped them, which that boggles my mind.
That was when Mount St. Helens erupted back in 1980.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
Well, my thing is why, if they open portals, and I know for a fact that they can open portals, why in the world didn't those specific Sasquatch in that area portal out? That makes no sense. Because if Sasquatch can portal from Mount Baker to me in Seattle, why in the world weren't these specific Sasquatch able to actually get themselves out of there? That just boggles my mind.
Just thinking out of the box, could it be that the eruption of the volcano disrupted the portals?
Well, not just that, but if the eruption happened so fast too, they didn't have time to react to do whatever they had to do to get out of this dimension.
Yeah, it's
but
so
being
instantaneous.
The type of beings they are, you would think that they would know ahead of time.
I would think, because
possibly,
the USGS had warning signs before St. Helens erupted. They knew, I think it was a week before that eruption was coming. They just didn't know when specifically. But and so the National Guard was called in. The National Guard, the guardsmen that showed up, actually had some government officials with them that they weren't allowed to talk to. Going by some of the reports I've seen, they were taken to Fort Lewis for 2 weeks to a facility there, and then they were transported to California to a larger facility. So that's one case that I have tracked a little bit. But that was Mount St. Helens eruption. That wasn't a fire.
Okay.
Ooh. Hey, so there's a question in itself.
What?
So when there's an eruption or something like that, how does that affect Bigfoot's ability to travel through the tunnels and stuff?
Well, I think the eruptions themselves would destroy the tunnel system.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the lava coming through it.
The lava coming through
So,
it,
so here's my question.
Or is there something
in an intense
electromagnetic?
stressful situation like that, where all of a sudden there's like an instant like disaster thing happens or something like that. So do they just try to get out of there on foot, or do they portal out? Like I mean, what if they can't portal out? Then do they just die in those tunnels or what? And why haven't we found their bones?
Well, you're not going to find the bones if they're in a tunnel, because humans don't go in those tunnels usually, generally speaking. But that's the other question too. We have all these fires going on. You would think in the news if they found Bigfoot bodies or bones or whatever, that would come out. So and that's information that it doesn't really get leaked to the news. I don't think, more than likely.
No.
Especially if the government gets involved.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you wonder if they've actually found bodies or Bigfoot bones in some of the fires. Because we have, 21 fires going on?
Yeah.
Just in Washington alone?
Yeah.
That's a lot of terrain.
Yes, it is.
Well, as far as the fires go, I mean, we've had some big ones around here. And we used to have a fire season. Somebody mentioned that earlier.
Right.
Remember 10, 15 years ago, there was a fire season. A couple of months, you really had to worry. Now it's almost year long. Right now, we've got the biggest fire in California history burning just north of me. That's 700,000 acres. There's one south of me that's, I was listening to it on Scanner. I remember when it was 30 acres, and it's now 100,000 acres. And I have noticed, being out in the woods here, I'm outside all the time, there is more movement of all animals that are in the woods. I mean, whether it's the birds or the small mammals or even the big ones, there's more movement around. There's more sounds coming from the woods that didn't used to be there. And as far as the Bigfoot go, like I said, I've never seen one, but for years I've heard them. But I always figured it was a migratory thing. You talked about that earlier.
Right.
Maybe once a year I'd hear a group of them moving through the area. But I'd hear it maybe every 1, 2, 3 years. It was pretty rare. Now I'm hearing a lot more. And the only thing I could attribute that to is the fact that there are fires everywhere. Right now, I can't see across the valley. The smoke is so bad I can't see across the valley right now.
Right, you've got fires on both sides of you, so I would think you'd be the central point between the two.
Yeah. There's whether it's Bigfoot or whether it's bears or mountain lions. Like I've only heard mountain lion like twice in my life, and both times have been recently.
Well, and that brings up a good point that you actually brought up with the smoke, and it goes along with Jennifer's question in the chat. Do you think Bigfoot is prone to health problems like human beings? I would think with all the smoke,
they are.
I would think with all the smoke, they have a much.
There's not an organic being in this world that is not prone to health problems.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. I would think with all the smoke, they have a much bigger lung capacity. They'd have to with as fast as they travel and as large as they are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I would think, the smoke would probably be impacting them pretty bad.
And if you look at satellite, I've looked at satellite views of California that just show the smoke, and I've also looked at them from up there where you guys are in Washington. It's amazing
So bad.
the amount of particulate matter that's in the air, and that's not good for any living being.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it can cause health problems. I'm sure it can cause disorientation.
Oh, absolutely.
Or maybe if they are migratory, they go from point A to point B. They try to get there, and they get halfway there, and they go, "What the hell?" And everything's on fire. They've got to turn around and go somewhere. But where do they go? They don't know. So they're moving in new directions and new areas.
Might freak out over this, but I just got shown a Sasquatch's lungs. Somebody just literally psychically showed me a set of Sasquatch lungs, and I'm here to tell you, I can't even. I'm like, what is that? There's a specific. I'm like freaking out visually because of what I've just been shown. I did not expect that. They look
the
like
size
little
of the
tiny
lungs or the
trees.
damage to the lungs?
It's the inside of the lungs. It's like it's different than us, but yet it's real similar. You know how they have the bronchi? The bronchi and the little villi on the. They're not really villi, is what I'm being shown. That is freaking me out, man. I'm here to tell you, I've never. Nobody's ever shown me that.
What you're saying is what you've been shown is that their respiratory system and their oxygen exchange system is different than ours?
Yeah, but it's real similar from the looks of it.
Well, it makes me
Really?
wonder if they have a better filter system.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at, because the phyli aren't the phyli. It's like they look like little trees, but yet our lungs look like little trees too, but these are like solid. And then you've got trippy. Really trippy.
You got to draw a picture for us.
Well, that's a real interesting thing you brought up. We're very similar, but we might be different. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Bigfoot don't have gallbladders or something, you know? I mean,
right, the biology
they have a
will be
complete different endocrine system.
You know, because based on the fact that we know we've got Bigfoot that disappears right in front of you, but we have reports of Bigfoot that can run 40 to 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's amazing something that big can move like that.
Oh, absolutely. When you're talking a 400 to 500 pound animal running 40 to 50 miles an hour, that's one hell of a respiratory system.
That's what they used to say about me too.
Yeah. Well, you know how like cows have like extra stomachs. It could be that they have extra parts of their lungs to help them deal with certain parts of nature that they deal with. You know.
Well, if you grew up chasing deer or elk to eat dinner, you're going to have a hell of a lung for run. The ones that couldn't run, guess what? They didn't eat, they didn't breed because they died.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, it's evolution. Survival of the fittest.
And it's where they
climb the mountains. Have different
it's where they live too, the height and stuff.
The ones that don't live, they don't breed, they don't pass it on to the next generation.
Oh, we got a Sasquatch member listening in. Hello.
we got Sasquatch listening.
Yeah,
we called them in. I mean,
hello.
As far as them migrate, now I don't think all of them do, because I know we have even through the winter months we have reports of Bigfoot sightings here.
See, she was in Colorado, so it's I think it's different in state to state, is what I think.
State to state,
yeah, we have a little bit more mild winter sometimes out here, where it actually like thaws out between snows.
Well, the thing is, too,
don't you think it might just like people, there are people out there that still migrate to this day that aren't, stuck in the Western civilization thing. And I'm sure there are groups of Bigfoot that are like, hey, this time of the year it's nicer than here. We got more food. And then at certain times of the year, if we go 100 miles that way, there's good food and shelter there, and they go back and forth. There are other ones that they're living in a nice little valley that has everything it provides year-round. They don't have to migrate.
Yeah.
So you're going to have differences.
And some might
I'm sure it's that way with all animals.
Oh, absolutely. Arlo, what's your next question tonight?
So, as I was researching some stuff, has anybody heard of Bigfoot coming in and who have horses or have people with horses? Bigfoot coming in and braiding their horses' manes.
Yes, mine.
Yes.
I used to get I'd go out to. I swear, I love that you brought this question up because it used to happen all the time here. I had a beautiful horse. I'd go out there sometimes, feed him, and I'd look, and his mane would be braided. And I'm not talking it got tangled a little bit. I mean, this was a nice. Sometimes it'd be three big strands, and they'd be braided down, and almost tied at the end. Sometimes there was as many as six different strands, and they'd be braided. And it's not tangled. It's not woodchucks or squirrels doing it. The horse wasn't doing it. Something was braiding the horse's hair. It happened probably 6-7 times here. And I'll tell you what,
amazing.
It's definitely something that happens without a doubt. I know it. I've seen it. And it's the only explanation for it.
When I was young, we had a horse, and its mane was braided, and we couldn't figure out who did it, and we argued about it. And that's amazing. Oh my goodness.
No, I was.
Like you said, you had people to argue. You had people to argue with. I'm up here in the middle of nowhere. There's no one else up here that snuck up and braided my horse's hair.
I would have
But
never
see, you
thought
got
that, though,
Sasquatch
until
who
you
will
just
do
said
that,
that, and
and
I got the truth bump.
You've also got the Fae who will do that as well.
I always say the Fae, yeah.
Ooh, right.
So you got both aspects to that.
Well, Eric
I
told
love
me
it.
that Bigfoot are part of the Fae.
Huh? No. No.
No,
No.
he's like, that's not
I
what
said
I said.
Bigfoot are guardians of the wooded areas. They are not related to the Fae.
Yeah, that was a really good episode. Yeah.
Well, somebody was braiding my horse's hair. I don't know who it was.
I love
I'm
that.
going with
it could be
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yeah, I really love that image. I need my daughter to paint this now.
Well, I'm wondering if it's the teenagers that do that, and not the adults.
Prank braiders.
That could have been part of the
female
application.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, if you got a female. Never
Yeah.
mind. I need to keep my mouth shut.
So Joe, how many game cams do you have available?
Right now, none. They've all mysteriously stopped working.
Oh, okay. Damn it.
I still have cameras on the house
Really?
pointing out, but I can't really see out. Like at night, I have them set up to where they're not using the infrared because I've heard too much about everything being able to see maybe the Bigfoot can see the infrared.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have them. They're passive, but I do have one that's pointing out that there's a big light that's on all night long. It lights up the area, but I can only see a certain distance. But on my game cams, I've had them. I've had brand new Browning game cams. They're really nice ones, and there'll be a picture or two that'll be whited out, and you see a lot of hair, which could be from some other critter. I don't know. But then the game camera just stops working, and I had several of them that I sent back to the Browning factory. I said, look, here's the game camera. It stopped working. I don't know why. Nothing beat it. Nothing hit it. It wasn't severe weather. Can you fix this? And they sent me back letters that says, we looked at this camera. We examined it. We went through the whole thing. We have no idea what happened to this or why it's not working. Here's a brand new camera. They sent me brand new ones. These are $300-$400 cameras.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say, oh, well, your warranty. No, nothing like that. They just said, look, we don't know why this stopped working. And I've had 4 of them so far, 3 Brownings, and one was another brand. I can't remember what that was. But all of them just mysteriously stopped working at one time or another, and I've got a really weird story about the last time. I don't know if you heard, if you ever listened to Spaced Out Radio, but they had someone on there a long time ago, maybe about 5 years ago. They were talking about people being abducted by aliens at night and not knowing. And there was a guest on that said, well, if you take a stack of coins and you put them on your dresser,
right,
and you leave them there and you think about it every night. And yeah, you may have heard this. And if you think, if maybe during the abduction you'd knock them over, so that when you wake up in the morning, you look over and those coins are all knocked over, you know something happened. Well, this is probably about a year and a half ago or so. I woke up one morning and I got out of bed and I looked and I've got these scratches. They went from the back of my leg right down to my ankle all the way up to my knee, and they weren't welts. They weren't raised marks. They were bleeding. 3 big scratches on my knee. What the hell is that? I got up, and I looked, and the coins are knocked over. And I've been doing the coin experiment for almost 6 years now, and it's the only time they've ever been knocked over. I thought, man, this is really weird. You know, I got this weird scratches on my leg, and the coins are knocked over. That's really odd. I'm going to have to, kind of mark this day in history here. Went about my stuff, and that day I went out to check one of my game cameras. And like I said, it was one of those Brownings. And it was the same exact day. I went out. There was a white photo. There was a picture of something with a lot of hair. And then the camera, it was stuck and it wouldn't work. And that's the one I sent back to the factory. And they said, we have no idea why this isn't working. So I had all those 3 things happen at the same time. Synchronicity? I don't know. Something weird happened.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
You know,
I want to bring up Dennis's comments real quick because they have to do with biology. So Dennis is saying, so what I know of biology is someone who took 4 years of med, their blood would have to be thicker to allow more oxygen circulation, and they would have to have at 3 times the size capillary beds and alveoli than humans. The trees in humans are not as efficient as birds and amphibians. What's interesting about oxygen intake is that it would allow for one hell of a massive vocal bellow, which we know happens. Also, the lactose malady that affects human beings who exercise too much with cramping would not be as much of a problem for Bigfoot. What it means is that their running and lifting would be more efficient for their size. I would say they could probably sprint fairly fast, but probably, my guess, not very sustained running. And that's what the reports we get. No, he's not long distance running. They are short bursts to get away from the human that's watching them.
Or to catch dinner.
Right.
You have to be able to catch a deer or an elk to eat, right? They're big.
I would think that'd be longer, though. That'd be a longer run, maybe.
Not if you're an ambush hunter.
I was going to
True.
say, yeah, if you have multiple.
Dennis,
True.
that would make more sense with what I just saw. Thank you.
Yeah.
Totally makes more sense with what I saw.
You can run really fast for a short distance. You're going to be able to catch. I've had deer walk up 20 feet from me while I'm sitting here on the show.
Right.
If I was able to have a burst and run 40 miles an hour for, say, a minute, yeah, I'd catch that deer.
Or 50 miles an hour. What's your next question, Joe?
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Let me see. It's me up again.
Oh, yeah. I caught you off guard.
Let me find my memo thing here. I got some questions. Let me see. Bigfoot. No, okay. How about this one? If you had a Bigfoot gifting site, and you knew that whatever you left at that Bigfoot gifting site would be picked up by a Bigfoot and not necessarily a bear or a squirrel or a crow or some other animal, what was the one item that you would leave for the big hairy guy?
Tobacco.
For me, I'll tell you, for me, I'd actually leave 2 items. I would leave a hand mirror and a brush. Because I think the hand mirror would be interesting for them. They would pick it up and they'd go, oh, wow, look at this. I can see myself. That might be interesting to them. Number 2, the brush, I think they would be able to figure it out.
And
they
shiny.
seem to have an intelligence. I mean, they're smarter than bears and everything else out in the woods. None of the critters out there would know what that was for. I think they would know what that was for, and they'd be able to use it, and it would be a good thing to give them.
Oh, it's shiny, too.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the mirror you use, obviously.
So basically, what would you leave? You had
Tacos.
one item.
Huh?
I would leave tacos.
A taco?
Taco.
Oh yeah.
Everything in the forest would take a taco.
Everybody needs to try tacos at least once in their life, even Bigfoot.
I'm sure he'd be so appreciative. Or
Tacos are soul food.
Until the gas came.
Soul food, yeah.
You know, if you feed them tacos, they'll never leave.
Right?
You know that.
True.
You have to
You'll have a
keep
friend for
putting the
life.
tacos out.
Only on Tuesday.
Let's see. We've left shiny Hot Wheels. I left tobacco. I've left. Oh God, what else? We found out really the hard way. You don't leave foam blocks because crows and ravens like eating foam blocks. So anything shiny.
Yeah.
So the only other a creature that would take a shiny object would be a raccoon. Maybe a squirrel.
Ravens, crows.
Ravens and crows.
They will take them.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
speaking of critters, I just had 2 deer just walked up. I'm looking at them right now. Ooh. They're both bucks.
Chase them, Joe.
I would totally
You know what? I
leave
bet I could catch one of
a
them.
few different things. I would leave crystals for sure. I know that you can transfer information and gratitude through, herbs and crystals and things like that. So I'd leave them some, nice cannabis herbs. Try that out if they haven't already. And some crystals. And then a friend of mine had a really good suggestion to leave him like a little book full of, Sasquatch memorabilia and stories and pictures, all, from all different times, kind of like a little book report about Sasquatch to show him what we think about him and them.
Interesting.
That might piss them off. They call us Bigfoot. They don't like my feet.
Maybe to prove himself, you're fine.
I call you Littlehead. Yeah.
I think I would leave a bottle of detangler spray.
Bottle of detangler.
Or leave a can of colored paint. That way you knew exactly which Bigfoot took it. Oh, he's got a fluorescent orange streak on his hair. Huh. All right. Let's see.
Giant shiny pot.
Huh?
Okay, I'm sending you guys a photo.
A giant shiny pot.
A shiny pot?
A shiny pot, yeah.
Well, they might like that.
They use them. I know somebody that does that periodically with the Sasquatch she's got on her property.
Nikki, what's your next question tonight?
All right. Let's see. Okay, what about the Sasquatch that are in the South? There are numerous different reports of different kind of Sasquatch all over the country, and well, all over globally. There are ones that are considered violent. Why do you think they're considered violent if they are true Sasquatches versus the oh God, I never pronounced this right. God, I did it again. Thank you.
The Awara.
I can't pronounce that word for anything. Anyway,
so
if they're not that being and they truly are a Sasquatch, what makes them so angry and aggressive?
Well, the swamp ape in the South, it's usually really hot, really humid, and if I was really hairy, I'd be pissed off too.
Oh man!
I think it's a possibility. Like it's a lot hotter there. I don't think they have as much room to roam around as they do up in swaths of forest here on the West Coast, up in the British Columbia or Yukon, where there's no people. They have people encroaching on their areas, which probably has made them more aggressive, and they don't like humans. They probably have more contact with humans than the ones up in British Columbia or Yukon. So they're going to be more aggressive because, well, they're pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Plus
yeah,
it's
they
hot.
could have a lot of resentment. It could also be something in their diet or something in their environment that is triggering aggression. Because I've known that, throughout time they've been able to find certain minerals make people more aggressive and some certain minerals make people more docile. So it could be that as well. Or it could be like more oxygen for the ones up here in the northern states, that they have more trees and more oxygen, so they're happier. They get more neurotransmitters that are triggering their serotonin. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think there really is a good answer. I think they're like the cousin to our Bigfoot here, and maybe it's just in their genetics.
Then again, like say the swamp apes are down in Florida. Even the humans in Florida are a little bit insane.
Oh no!
So they eat bath salts and turn into zombies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's a good question. I think the relatives of the thing is, you get the Bigfoot in Kentucky, for example. It's not a southern thing per se, because you have the same type of Bigfoot we have here in Kentucky. We've heard that from
Let me tell you. So I used to live in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and so you have the Cumberland cave system there that runs all underneath of
Right. The Mammoth Caves.
So what's really cool about that is there's a lot of them that run under like where Hopkinsville and stuff is, and so we've actually I have recordings of the sounds you can hear things making like very like howly sort of noises almost like and other things too like just noises and like real like kind of guttural sounding noises and things like that that we got recordings of that stuff actually coming out of the caves and stuff like that. So I like Kentucky. Kentucky's a cool place. It's got lots of good Bigfoot stuff.
And maybe they're using those same caves. And because we know the Mammoth Caves travel from Kentucky to the Midwest and possibly even over here. So maybe it's the same type of Bigfoot that's traveling from here to Kentucky, across the United States through these cave systems.
And Mammoth Caves also is there's a ley line thing right there too. So
it could just be that they're hangry too.
Yeah,
that could be it. They need tacos.
They're just hungry from long travel.
And I would also think there's and I brought this up before. There's the good Bigfoot and the bad Bigfoot that comes with the hellhounds, and that could be you going back towards the east, the south, and stuff for the hellhounds, and then they travel. The bad Bigfoot travels with the hellhounds, so you could have that issue going on.
More people making deals with devils at Crossroads.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. That's a whole other show.
Yes.
So yeah,
It was. Yeah.
Hopkinsville was where the farm invasion. So you lived in Hopkinsville?
I did live in
so
Hopkinsville.
I know you've heard of the alien story at the farm.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's some neat spots actually there. They've got a lot of like old speakeasies and stuff like that, and they've actually found like things set up in there that like was not humanly like possible to be in there. Like, I mean, it was that kind of stuff is pretty neat to see.
Okay. So, Nikki, what was your next question? You already asked your next question.
I don't have a next question at the moment.
Okay.
We answered quite a few questions that I had.
Okay. Harmony.
Hey.
Hey, what's up? How you? Welcome back, Harmony.
Hey, I'm right here.
Deer in the headlights.
Yeah, that's really funny because you have a picture of deer that just came up on the thing. That's what I was looking at.
Oh, yeah.
Squirrel. Instead of a squirrel, it's a deer.
Anyway, I thought she was going to ask a question, so I muted myself. Let's see. I mean, you could go anywhere with Bigfoot, but I want to know what you guys have heard of, like specifically in the Pacific Northwest area. Any specific stories or personal encounters?
Arnold, I know you've had encounters at the state parks.
Yeah, I've had large branches, I'll say, thrown at me while walking some of the trails in a state park I used to work at. I've had where I lived on a piece of property. I've had other encounters where we were out taking care of farm animals and checking the property at night, and something came up and pretty much didn't want us around and stuff. Shortly after that, that's when I walked out and found a little, I'm going to call it a hut, but no human could have made it the way the small trees and stuff were twisted around. But yeah, I've heard the tree knocks, trees falling over where I've been in state parks. But this kind of the one that probably spooked me real bad was starting to walk a trail and have this huge limb come flying by me, and it stopped me in my tracks.
Was it thrown like a javelin?
Pretty much. Yeah, it was real close when it came by. I could tell you that. was going out to walk a trail to look for an area that people said there was a bunch of brush hanging over and stuff. And I probably was 30, 40 yards in on the trail when this happened from our campground. And stepped back for a while and then saw some other people come through from the opposite way. And then I went back out and didn't feel anything, see anything, have anything thrown at me after that. So I don't know if it was passing through and I got in its way or what, but it was a unique experience.
Excellent. And so I've heard tree knocks, and I've told this story too many times on the show. I don't want to so much get into it again because it's just the same old story. But we were walking down a trail, and this was my first encounter. I didn't really, I figured Bigfoot was real, but it wasn't part of my paranormal interest at the time. And we were at the top of a haystack, so there was nobody up there because it's gated. And we were walking down a trail, and we turned around, we started going back because there was no deer. We were deer hunting, and we heard the knock. Well, nothing else makes a knock like that. I've had people, it was probably a woodpecker. No, there's a huge difference between a woodpecker, which I know what sounds like, and a Bigfoot tree knock. And so we stopped, we dropped our packs, and we're like, damn, never heard one before. So we went back, we looked around. We have a cliff on one side. He very easily could have run down the cliff, and we wouldn't know it. But we went back to our packs, put them on, took one step to leave, and he did it again. Like, ha, you guys didn't see me. We just left. I've gone on cases where a witness saw a Bigfoot run down a mountain road and disappear over a cliff. And we saw tracks. We left matchbox cars at that site just because, my son said, "Here, Daddy, take this matchbox car, leave it for Bigfoot." I'm like, cool. And then, of course, you got the case where my father-in-law actually saw a very tall creature run through blackberries, which you're talking 20 foot of blackberries. A bear's not going to run on two legs through 20 foot of blackberries to grab a rooster. This thing ran through, and I saw the trail, but it ran through 20 foot of blackberries, grabbed a rooster, and ran back into the woods.
Wow.
So, we know Bigfoot's here.
So
yeah, for sure.
I've had experiences here, and then I had experiences in Alaska. I was too young to remember the ones that happened when I was up in Alaska, but the one up here, there's two, but one was pretty memorable. I was in my early 20s, and I'd gone to a bonfire, and at the end of the bonfire, everybody had kind of cleared out, and we were like on a little dead-end road cul-de-sac thing at a trailhead, and it was the craziest thing because I went to go to the bathroom, and I smelled a really gross smell, and then the bushes started like crashing, like something was crashing through the bushes, and then it stopped, and then I like walked towards it, and then it got quiet for a second, and then it started crashing towards me again, and like it was a very like frightening for a 20-something-year-old kid. I mean, it was a pretty frightening experience for me. But we went to go get in our truck to leave, and my boyfriend and I could literally hear it walking. You could hear how heavy the steps were walking right behind me as we were going to get into our vehicle. And as we hopped into the truck to take off, the back end of our truck actually went down, like was squished down, like it had a heavy load on it, and then all of a sudden it sprung back up again, like something had stepped onto the bumper or onto the tailgate or whatever, and then it hopped off. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty spooky.
And, you know, I don't think and that's where I get confused. So I know Bigfoot, for the most part, doesn't fully intend to scare humans.
No. I don't believe that's what it was trying to do either.
No. Unless, and I do think they are territorial. I do think, and it kind of goes with Dennis's question here. So the agreement in the community is that the tree huts and twisting are territorial markers. They could be. What's your guys' thoughts? Do you think Bigfoot leaves territorial markers?
I would say yes. They stack
Yes.
rocks too. They
Yes.
stack piles of rocks and stuff. I've seen that a lot in the woods too with them.
So
Yeah, I've seen twisting
Yeah,
of trees.
I
and
definitely
things of
think
that
they mark
nature,
their
so, yeah.
territory.
and he's talking about the smell. You know, I've heard reports where they've seen Bigfoot, they've seen Bigfoot sign, they've been near Bigfoot, and they don't smell anything.
It
And
was
I've heard the other reports where, oh my God, they smell like wet dog and rotten flesh. I think they have control of the smell.
Yeah,
I think they
absolutely.
I think he was using it as like an intimidating, just to kind of like get us back off kind
I
of thing.
think they can spray.
Yeah, like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, I think they can spray like a skunk, for lack of a better example. But
around here, you're right.
Attract their mate
Eric,
and things like that, like pheromones.
Eric, you're absolutely right, because around here, when I first showed up, it was occasionally a couple times a year, I would smell that it's a wet dog, sulfur, dead, rotten meat smell. It was horrible, but I've been around here long enough. I'm out here all the time. They've gotten used to me. I don't smell that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something they can control to intimidate or to let something know, look, here's this big giant guy that's outside here. Let's let him know we're around. They don't worry about it anymore. And I don't smell that anymore.
Well,
and I know they're coming through. I haven't seen one yet, but I can hear them, and the smell is gone.
That's why we need to get you game cams.
You know,
maybe they'll show them.
I got to get some more.
Another thing too that we heard was like trees being pushed over, and when we went over to where the area was where the sounds were coming from, there was actually like 3 trees that had been pushed over the river, a deep spot on the river where something probably wouldn't have been able to just walk through or whatever. But it was, and they weren't like in a bridge, like a people would make like a bridge, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like that. But it was like obviously they were all dumped in the same spot in the same area. So, and it was obviously pushed over, and I don't know what can push over a tree like that, except for bears.
Well, and even bears, usually they're medium-sized. They're not going to be huge trees that a bear generally. I mean, it depends on the size of the bear. Grizzlies in Alaska,
we got some big bears here.
Right.
We got big ones. I just sent you a photo.
Most of our brown bears here, they're medium to smaller size compared to, let's say, the grizzly bear in Alaska. So I wouldn't think, you're talking about a 600 to 800 pound Bigfoot. Yeah, they're going to be able to knock
push
over
over, especially if
it's
a tree that's already got a little rot or something going on with it.
Absolutely, especially here. Our ground is loose.
Well, yeah, right.
How many trees fall on a daily basis? And
I did hear a story.
And a lot of them are soft, have that soft
time,
rot and stuff in them and things like that.
Yeah.
Standing, they're dead standing. But.
I did hear a story one time of a guy that was on a boat on a river, and it was up in, I believe it was Washington. It could have been British Columbia, but I think it was in Washington, and he was watching a grizzly on a beach, and it was pawing at the ground there, and it was digging up like clams or oysters or whatever the hell it is that's on the river there. And he was watching this, and he saw the bear look toward the woods, and it took off as fast as it could down the beach. And the guy in the boat was wondering what was that, and he saw Bigfoot come out of the forest, right where the grizzly bear was looking. So when it comes to bears and grizzly and Bigfoot, I think the bears know that that's an apex predator, and they don't try to mess with them.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, yeah, we're going to talk a little more about that after break. When it comes to territory, we know they toss rocks at humans. You wanted to bring something up.
Well, when it comes to areas like Washington and Oregon that remain wet most of the time, most of our root systems with our trees...
A lot of waterways.
Yeah, but like most of our root system with our trees, even outside of the waterways, are...
weaker.
Yeah, they're dying from the moment they start growing.
Yeah.
And we're sitting on a lot of loose dirt. Just alone from the dead rot that falls from above.
Right.
That is half of our soil. So it's not unthinkable that a brown bear could knock over a fairly large tree.
Okay.
Well, that might be true up there, but down in California, I know when it's not raining and it's not wet or it's not wintertime, the soil here gets like cement. And those trees are not being knocked over by anything. But I do understand, because I used to live up in Washington. I can understand it might be easier to knock something over
sandy
up there.
Soil.
Yeah, we have more sandy loamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff is it's interesting soil. I mean, it's thousands of years of pine needles and oak trees, and when it dries out, it gets like cement. The ground here is hard, and it's I'm up in the Sierras, so there's a lot of. I mean, it's not a lot of soil. There's a lot of rock. And it's all granite, so it's tough stuff. But like I said, I did live up in Washington. I know exactly what Cole's talking about. It would be. I mean, there are trees I could probably push over up there.
Right. And on that note, we are going to go ahead and take our last break of the night, and when we come back, I do want to dig a little more into the ecosystem with other predators and Bigfoot, and obviously Bigfoot's going to win, but how do they get along? So, stay tuned, and we'll come back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
welcome back to the last hour tonight of S-4 Paranormal Radio, as we are talking all things Bigfoot in preparation for the very exciting Marblemount Sasquatch Conference next weekend. We will only be there on Saturday because we have our show to do on Sunday. So come out and see us if you're local, or if you're within reach of driving to Marblemount. Going to be a fun time. So, wildlife and Bigfoot. I can say I went on an investigation up at Higgins Pass, up in the lower Finney area. No, it'd be the upper Finney area. And as we're driving up there, I went up to that area with a witness that actually saw a Bigfoot that was bent over in the middle of this logging road. Didn't hear the car coming up behind him, and stood up, looked back, and ran. So as we're going up to this point, a small black bear ran across the road in front of us, just about 5 minutes from the Bigfoot sighting area. So, with that, we know bears, cougars, elk, deer, all live within, the territories of different Bigfoot. So how do they get along? I would have to say they have a mutual agreement, to be honest.
So are you saying they communicate, interspecies communication?
No, I'd say fear.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's just what I was
Body
gonna
language.
Say. Yeah.
You're a little black bear, or
Bigfoot's the predator.
you're a little black bear, or even a cougar. You're looking at a 7 to 8, sometimes taller creature that's aggressive when he needs to be. I would say, yeah, okay, I'm not going to mess with him. I'm going over here. Go ahead and eat the elk. Yeah, good times. It makes you wonder, though, if Bigfoot encounters a black bear, if he attacks a black bear unprovoked because he's hungry, or, do they just part their separate ways?
Yeah.
So Joe, up where you are, I know you see bears and cougars and whatnot, and you hear the 800-pound.
Oh yeah, I have them right here in my yard. They've come up to the house. They're big. As far as the bears go, as big as they are and as mean as they are, and all the horrible stories you hear, I have absolutely no fear of them because I'm not messing with them. If I see a bear with cubs, I'm not going anywhere near them. No. If I see it walk through my yard, I'm not touching them, and they'll walk. I've seen them 30 feet away. They walk by. They don't even look over at you and say, "Oh, look, there's a guy sitting there." They'll walk by. They know you're there, but they're not looking at you. They're not making eye contact. They're doing their thing.
Right.
They're going from point A to point B. They're looking for something somewhere. They walk through. I just sent you a photo of one. It was right next to my truck. It's on the messenger.
We had bears in Alaska that would sit at the river with us, and they'd fish right next to us.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not bothering them, they're not going to bother you.
Unless you're cooking fish on the fire out in the wilderness, and they will try to take it off your grill.
Other than down in the south where they seem to have the really angry Bigfoot, and they probably got angry bears down there too. I don't know what it is.
It could be the humidity.
Northwest, a bear will avoid you. They'll avoid confrontation unless you mess with them. I think Bigfoot is smart enough to know that. But if they do happen to come head to head, there's no question. If it's one of the big ones, the Bigfoot's going to win. I have to give it to the Bigfoot. If they do get in confrontation.
You're looking at...
There's a huge weight difference.
You're looking at
weight. As big as the bears are, the Bigfoot are a lot bigger.
Absolutely.
You wonder if they work.
And they got hands.
So do you think that maybe Bigfoot in his brain is sitting there thinking maybe does he have fear, even though the bear is smaller than him or whatever? Does he still have fear of the bear, or is he just like?
I don't think so.
Does he know he's like superior to that animal and he's not afraid of it at all, or?
No. I think he's smart enough to realize that's a dangerous animal. And honestly, I think they will avoid each other.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Unless it's something like they're fighting over a piece of meat. Say they both find a dead deer in the woods and they both want to eat it. They're going to decide who's the alpha male, and they're going to take over that piece of meat. Or if children are involved, on either side. If the bear's cubs are threatened, that bear is going to go after a Bigfoot. Doesn't matter if it's 80 feet tall; it's still going to go after it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's probably the same thing. Maternal instinct, is
I'll tell you,
moose supreme in the animal kingdom.
Moose are scary when they're protecting their babies. They sound like a bear coming through the woods.
Don't mess with the babies.
Oh no!
Whoever's got the babies around probably win.
Now here's one for you.
Yeah.
So we know, generally speaking, so you have a human child in the woods. I honestly think the Bigfoot is going to go after the bear to protect the human child.
I think so too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's an instinct there. There's the story it wasn't too long ago, less than a year ago, in Kentucky or Tennessee, where there was a little boy lost in the woods, and it had rained and all these things, and 3 days later they find the kid in this, I think it was a briar patch or something, but the kid was clean, he was safe, he was healthy, and the kid told the story of a big bear, a big hairy bear that took care of him for 3 days.
Bears don't do that.
Yeah, bears do not
to a human.
No, a bear would have eaten the kid.
Well, look at the child that fell into a gorilla enclosure back at one of the zoos.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And the female went and protected him
from the other apes,
and
from the other gorillas.
Yeah, and then took him to the door where the zookeepers could come in and take the kid. So yeah,
absolutely excellent example. I remember seeing that, and I thought that was just beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a maternal instinct.
Now
I told the story at break about a friend of mine who was on the peninsula here in Washington State, and it was her and her very young son, and they were making their way to where the rest of their friends were at the lake, and then they decided to go back to camp because her son wasn't feeling well. So they start walking and heard the, spine-chilling sound of a cougar, and it's, unmistakable. And so her son said, what was that? He was very scared, and she said, I think it was thunder. Let's, get to camp. So she grabbed him up, and they started walking, and then they heard it tracking them and heard it, very, very distinctively following them and breathing. And then they all of a sudden heard these 3 smacks on the tree very, very loudly, huge smacks, boom, 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 and then another time, and then three times. And then all of a sudden, they noticed that where the animal that was tracking them was coming from decided to snarl and then bound away from where they were at and away from where their camp was. And so, they went straight to camp and were pretty shooken up that night. So I believe that supports the Sasquatch, supporting or protecting women and children and travelers and those who are, in need. They will come to and their rescue, and they will come to help them and protect them. And that's what I believe happened. If you want to hear the story of her tell it herself, it's an episode on my show Tea Time where I actually interview her about it. It's pretty amazing to hear her tell that story firsthand. So it's amazing.
So
there have been lots of stories over the years of people that have Bigfoot sightings, like on the edge of the woods or something. That's because it's near a playground and there's a bunch of kids playing on swings and being kids, just making a noise, and the Bigfoot are just out there watching.
Yeah.
Well, the entire
Yeah.
incident that we had up in Alaska when I was a baby, I was very, very ill, and I was crying a lot because I had massive ear infections and stuff, and they honestly believe that it was, and it's even in all the police reports and everything, that was what was brought it in, was the sound of me crying. But this thing was, it kept trying to get to me because I didn't stop crying. You know what I mean? Like it kept doing things, and it kept just trying to distract the grown-ups, and I was doing all kinds of stuff like that. Banging on the sides of the trailer and things like that. It was really neat, but it all had to do with the fact that I was crying, and that's what brought it in to begin with.
Wow.
Well, I think it's part of human nature, and it's probably part of animal nature too. And it's kind of a weird story, but I'll tell it. I can remember I was over at Mom's house. I mean, she's 87 years old, and snoring away, and I'm watching a movie. And there's gunfights, and there's car chases, and all this stuff going on. And she slept through the whole thing. And there was one scene where a baby cried, and she popped up in a chair and looked around and said, "What? What?" It's genetically ingrained about you got to help those kids.
Oh yeah, if I hear a kid crying,
if you hear a baby crying, man, that's a noise that every mom knows, right?
Oh yeah.
I think there was some Sasquatch hunters that were that used a baby crying recording out in the woods to try to attract them in to get footage.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
But the thing is, when it comes to using bait like that, I think honestly Bigfoot knows the difference.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
There's a difference between a natural sound and something pumped up by mechanical means, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
Yeah, that works to a certain point based on one guy's experience that I heard of. That just, I was like, dude, why are you out in the woods deciding on your own out in the deep woods? No, didn't bother telling anybody where he was going. Yeah, and he had a recording of his son. And it's something that has just, the video on, I wish I could remember the guy that did the video, because I was like, what are you thinking? And you could hear it. You could hear something coming down.
That would be like me going down to the beach at night and having a recording of a woman screaming, saying, "Help me, help me." If somebody showed up because they cared, they would take me out.
Yeah.
Well, that must be the guy that's causing the problem. Same thing with the Bigfoot. The baby crying, here's the guy, let's take that guy out. He's hurting a baby.
Baby cry. I think it was a Sasquatch was across the water from him, and when he realized how close it had gotten to him, he shut the recording off. I'm like, dude, seriously, what on earth were you thinking? I mean, you could get yourself killed.
Yep.
When he shuts the recording off, it might think that the baby's dead.
Hey, so when my son was an infant, I had him in one of those little car seats, and I had him sitting on the ground. I had the little handle up and everything, and and I had him sitting on the ground, and I was rocking him, and I walked away for a second to go get his diaper bag and stuff, and as I walked back, I heard like a really weird noise, and then. Like I heard a yelp, like a dog. You know how dogs yelp when they get hurt or something like that? It was a really big yelp, and as I rounded the corner of the house to where it was at, there was a wolf that was laying on its side against the side of the house, and it had dropped and hit the ground. And my son apparently. Because we ended up getting it on camera, was that my son had been, this wolf was trying to drag my son in his onesie, the zipper pajamas with, that zip, the footy ones. It had grabbed a hold of his foot, just the foot of the pajamas, and was trying to drag him out of the seat. And it was crazy because I don't know why it yelped. I don't know how it ended up against the wall and then laying on the ground next to it like it did. I honestly believe something intervened and protected my kid, so... I don't know what it was.
Angel. I just heard an angel.
Huh?
It was cool though.
I've actually seen what you're talking about, the animal interaction with humans.
Yeah.
And it's my niece. She had the first kid she had. It would be out in the living room, and it was laying down on the couch, and there was a pit bull that would watch it. This kid, this pit bull would just love this little baby. It would start crying. The pit bull would run and find the mom, my niece, and start hitting her with his head on the legs, and then turn around and look at her like, come on, the baby's crying, the baby needs you, the baby needs you.
Oh, yeah.
That's a dog telling a mom that the baby needs help.
My dog used to do that with my daughter, bouncing on my... He'd bounce in my lap. He'd, like, jump.
Our dog used to do that.
Yeah.
When my son was little. Yeah. You couldn't be around my house because my dog... He was like, nope. Dog is the protector of the kid. I mean, it's a big deal. Really big deal. I heard angels. And if an angel is going to do that with a baby... I am here to tell you there is a reason that kid is alive. Mm-hmm. There's a very special reason that kid is alive.
That doesn't surprise
So that's a huge deal. Just an FYI.
And will continue to be
I had a friend who messaged. Yeah, exactly. I had a friend who messaged me who has questions. She's not in chat. Her name is Amy. And she said, what do they, the Sasquatch, call themselves? How is their society structured, and do any of them know English?
Well, I think I know you've heard them speak to you telepathically.
Yes.
Speaking English. Yeah. So if you're talking an interdimensional being, I think they can. I can't go into the specifics because I don't know them. I don't think anyone does. Do they speak English? They obviously have some way of translating into English.
Yeah.
Well, there are other people.
Many
who
are telepathic
with them. Yeah, many are telepathic with them. So certain Sasquatches in certain areas of not just Washington State, but all over the country. And everybody that I've heard talk about that, they've all talked about how they speak English. So that alone fascinates me. Because I do know that they have their own language. I have not a clue how to speak it.
But we're going to get to that because if we have time, I want to get into the languages of them. But Rebecca's got a question.
All right. So earlier we were talking about like health problems and about the fires and how the fires, would cause breathing issues and stuff like that for the big. So my question is this. So do health problems from the fires and stuff, could that affect Bigfoot's like telepathic and portaling abilities at all? Because I know like sometimes like I don't, if I'm really sick or I don't or I haven't eaten or haven't had any sleep or things like that, like I noticed that like my ability to read certain things kind of goes wonky. And I'm wondering if it's the same for like Bigfoot. If they're sick, if they're affected by like the fires and things like that, is that going to affect their abilities as far as that goes?
Well, going back to say Mount St. Helens, maybe that's why they couldn't portal out.
True.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So.
Because I mean, I know it affects mediums' ability sometimes when they're sick to be able to do certain things.
And it makes you wonder if some of the human ailments that we get, Bigfoot gets. Are there any diabetic?
Do they get headaches?
Do they get migraines?
Yeah.
Are there any diabetic Bigfoot? And again, does it go back to survival of the fittest, where they, for lack of a better term, remove the sickly and ill Bigfoot in their own tribes or whatever?
And I've got allergies. I've got severe allergies, and I've always wondered what happens if they have an allergy. I mean, hello. I know that they're very Native American-like in the sense of they use herbs. They know what. Why is somebody telling me dock leaves? Anyway, I don't know why dock leaves is coming up to my head at the moment, but anyway, So they use different things that are in the forest to heal themselves. I know that. Very much so.
I was about to say, you're talking about the ultimate herbologist. They would,
Yeah, basically.
They know which plants are St. John's wort for, depression and anxiety. They know bloodroot. They know bloodroot is an anti-anxiety and a blood stopper. They know these things. They have to.
And mullein is great for lungs. So
right.
Well,
and echinacea. I mean, you've got antihistamines in the woods. Humans know them. Bigfoot lives there. I would think
nettles are.
I would
stinging
think
nettles are a natural antihistamine.
Right. So I would think they would be the ultimate healers when it comes to so maybe
and they have their own energy.
Go ahead.
To heal. They have their own energy to heal. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
They are natural healers. I mean, they use an energy. It's a frequency. I know that they use.
So does illness affect that frequency?
If something has a broken bone, I don't have a clue as if they can do that, but I know that they can heal a multitude of physical ailments, but I don't have a clue as about the bone issue.
Maybe that's the problem. When it comes to emergencies, when it comes to traumas, they can't move back into their dimension.
Yeah, that's a very good possibility. I know that when I'm sick, it depends on the level of sickness. Like when I had COVID, I was like, nobody come near me. I mean, not just because of that issue. I was like, no psychic work, no nothing, because it knocked me down.
Well,
I also know that if I've had the flu and I've got a crisis on my hands and it's a psychic crisis, my higher self takes over and my higher frequency kicks in, and then I'm wired for about 4 days and I can't sleep, and I'm sick. So bad combo, but I deal with the emergency situation.
Well, I'm sure
I'm wondering if they can do the same thing.
Huh. So so you probably have the same. Oh my goodness, I totally lost track of my thought. There, it was there for a second.
Okay.
It's one of those nights, guys.
That's okay. That's how I am.
Okay, Joe, do you have another question?
Let me bring up my questions. Let's see. Actually, my question was going to ask Arnold about his experiences, but that kind of already came up. Let's see what we got here. The one thing we really haven't touched on, I don't even know if we want to.
What's that?
Is the Bigfoot community.
Okay.
This could be a whole show about all the paranormal researchers out there, the people that say they're Bigfoot experts, and every one of them come up with their evidence, and they say, you have to believe this because I have it. But this other paranormal group over here that's researching Bigfoot, they're all liars. We don't believe their thing. Basically, the Bigfoot community hates everybody else in the Bigfoot community. You have people in the Bigfoot communities. You have a group over here on this side that are saying, nope, it's North American ape. And you got a group over here saying, nope, they're intelligent beings from another dimension, and they use portals, and they're smarter than us, and everything in between. And everybody hates everybody. And it's the worst part of this. It's just like the people with the aliens. They all have their own views on things. They hate each other. They fight each other all the time. And nothing is going to come out if everybody's fighting until we get some answers.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
But that's not a question. That's a statement.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We never will
my question is, what do you think?
Okay, so here's the thing. That's like the same kind of battle between like Star Trekkies and Star Warsies. Okay, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, that's in the chat.
Oh, seriously? That's totally what it is. It's just.
No, Bigfoot comes from Middle Earth. Wow!
I think.
And if you don't believe me, I hate your guts.
If people, and here's the thing: even facts, when you give people facts, okay, it doesn't matter because they're gonna take their own perception and they're gonna take their own understanding of those facts, no matter what, and they're gonna devise their own belief system off of that fact, and it's gonna be completely different than the other person.
And it's going to be completely different from reality.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Hold on. Joe, did you just say Bigfoot comes from Middle Earth?
That was awesome.
Seriously?
Hey,
you're gonna go with the
I saw Kong vs. Godzilla. Kong rules Middle Earth, so Bigfoot comes from Middle Earth.
You're gonna go with the Unholy Trilogy.
No, I'm not going with Middle Earth.
You go with the original trilogy. He's from
I'll
Star
tell you the
Wars.
truth.
That's Chewie.
Myself, I come down on the side of Bigfoot being an unknown, unscientifically recognized North American ape, possibly hybrid with human, something very intelligent, but we just don't know what it is.
And supernatural.
That's just my ideas. Now, it could be supernatural. It might just be natural. There might be two species. Nobody knows. The point is,
it's all
nobody knows yet.
Presumption.
It's all opinion. It's all speculation.
And
until we've got one standing in front of us, sitting in the chair, taking a...
Here's the thing.
What do you think
said it.
of Melba Ketchum then and her research?
Well, there are a lot of people researching, but there's people out there, they call themselves researchers, and all they do is watch YouTube videos.
She's not just research, though. She did the lab results. She did the genetic lab results. So what do you think of her...
Oh, are you talking about Ketchum? Melba Ketchum?
Yes.
Melba Ketchum, I like that woman. People have sent her samples for decades, and she has said there's a bunch of things coming up. We can't identify it because we don't have a control sample, but it's definitely coming up, a unknown North American ape. So, I mean, that should be enough for most people. But a lot of people are saying, well, until you have something to compare it to, no, you're full of shit. They don't exist.
I believe it's a guy who boycotted Gillette.
And that's the whole thing.
If you ask anyone upriver, his name is Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl.
But you said it perfectly with you've got so many experts. There is no expert.
Oh yeah.
Anywhere in the paranormal, there's no such thing as an expert.
There's no Bigfoot experts. There's no UFO experts. There's no ghost experts. There's no any. I mean, until the paranormal means we really don't know. We don't have a control sample. Here's one standing in front of me, or here's one in a cage, or here's one we've done some scientific experiments on. No, we don't have that.
But
that's why it's paranormal.
Well, okay, but
so
to
at
be
this
fair,
point, it's all opinion, and everybody has their own things. What?
It is possible that there is an alien expert at Area 51.
Yeah, I would agree with
Well,
that.
it's possible, yeah, but he's not out there on a podcast every week saying he knows everything about aliens.
Oh yeah,
Let's get him out here, guys.
His name's Bob Lazar.
You need to book him on a show, man. Who's your booking agent?
Joe, I didn't think Melba Ketchum had information that it was Sasquatch was an ape. That she got something about the documentation to where she was able to take the genome back to a female human.
Yeah, there was human DNA in there, but it was also basically they didn't say human; they said hominid, which means that would include anything from us humans to Neanderthal to anything that's human upright walking. It's something related to that, but it's unknown. So they're calling it she called it an unknown North American primate.
But that's
Now,
that's what kills me is you brought up all these Bigfoot groups, but you've got too
Oh,
many.
God.
You've got too many Bigfoot groups that have been proven to fake evidence.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
that takes the entire validity of this field out.
That's what happens when you get back
When it comes to the Bigfoot professionals, the Bigfoot experts, the Bigfoot talkies on all the shows, I don't believe them. The people I believe are the guy that's driving down the road and sees something run across the road, or the hunter that sees something, or somebody that saw something walk across. Exactly, the experiencers. But you know what? The experiencers are just average Joes, just like you and me and the guy down the street.
Most of the time they're non-believers.
But nobody wants to believe them because they don't have a PhD and they don't have a podcast.
Yeah, I've got a
Joe,
bachelor's.
you and
I
I
hate
both
the
know-
experts.
Wait, I've got a bachelor's,
You and I
a
both know
podcast,
Andrew have known
and I'm an experiencer.
He's got experience
That means
because
I'm
he's a
I'm
long
an
haul
expert.
trucker. And
Not really.
he sees and hears all kinds of stuff from all the different truckers around. I mean, we're talking long distance. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
They've got stories
you know-
up the wazoo about these things.
Yeah, and
They
Dennis
see all
is
the
in
truckers have seen all the teenage male Bigfoots run across the road going, you
Well,
see that guy's face?
I like Dennis's comment with anything that has no control or prior sample can only be labeled as inconclusive, unknown. You know who probably does
There's no
actually
control
have a
sample.
Bigfoot?
You need to have a control sample.
Yeah, and you know who has a control sample?
And we
I'd
don't
go in
have
your back. The government.
Bigfoot.
Your government.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just going to say the government's got one.
Somebody in the government has it.
Yep.
Bigfoot has one.
Somebody.
But yeah, I would be willing to bet if all the reports are true about the National Guard, taking the Bigfoot out of St. Helens, they have them. Mm-hmm. Why is the government covering it up?
Why do they cover up the UFOs?
What? No. Okay.
Well,
UFOs, I get.
I can give you one. I can give you one reason. I can give you one answer for that.
What's that?
Why are they
what's
covering
the
it up? Think about this. I can remember this. This was maybe 30 years ago.
Spotted owl.
They found an owl. They found a fucking owl.
Yeah, the
and
spotted
it
owl in
shut
Oregon.
down the logging industry, and it almost destroyed the Pacific Northwest as far as the economy goes.
Absolutely.
Now, that was just an owl. It was found in one little area. Think about if they said, oh, you know what? We have this big North American ape out here. Everyone would go ape shit. Oh, ape shit. That's kind of cool.
Oh.
But I mean, they would be shutting down everything, and it would
It comes
destroy
down
the
to
economy.
money-hungry greed.
Well, you know,
Money-hungry, greedy factors.
And I guess that's my point too, is ethics. When you talk about ethics, so if I go up in my backyard, I actually, I have Bigfoot in my backyard. I know this. They won't talk.
I agree with you. I got them too.
But the thing is, if I was to actually have my own, friend Bigfoot in my backyard, and we had coffee every morning, whatever the case, would I tell anybody? No. Why? Because then I'm going to have every dumbass Bigfoot group coming up to my backyard to try to catch
hunters.
one.
And hunters, yeah.
Right,
Look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma opened up open Bigfoot hunting season.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have.
I think that was more of a publicity stunt. But okay, about 15 years ago, I had footprints going across my driveway. Took pictures of them, photos. I mean, these were huge prints. They were a lot big. I have a size 12 foot. These were a lot bigger than my foot.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I didn't even make a dent in that driveway. It's crushed mine rock. I could run across as fast as I could. Wouldn't leave a dent. These were big dents going across. I've got pictures of them somewhere. I'll find them one of these days. But I had posted them on Coast to Coast AM. And I got a call from one of the local TV stations in Sacramento. they wanted to come up and film the area and talk about it. And I said, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. The guy said, but we're going to have to tell people where you are and give your address.
No.
I said,
Oh my goodness.
that ain't going to happen, buddy. Sorry. No. And so it never happened.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, and this is 15 years ago, I wasn't, listening to the podcasts and all that stuff. And that's when I realized, you know what? I don't need to tell anybody these stories. I've got a ton of stories. I can go on for days about stuff I've witnessed up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't tell anybody where I'm at.
Well, some of it's meant
I tell
just for
people what
you.
I've seen. I tell you guys because it's just the three of us listening.
Yep. Well, you know what? Somebody from Brazil and Australia and UK, they aren't going to come here to go to your back door.
Exactly.
I want you to
If
try.
I gave my address and said I had Bigfoot walk across my yard, I have idiots up here every day.
Yep. I want you to try
Well,
something.
not only that, you'd also probably have government up there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With their drones, they're not going to send themselves in there. They'll send their drones.
The last
Yeah,
thing
you're going to have
need-
drones all over the place.
The last thing you need is to have your property taken over by government because of the, what the heck do they call that? Where they
Imminent
land
domain.
grab. I can't think what that's called.
It's okay. You know what? I border Sierra Pacific
Isn't it called eminent
Logging
domain?
Company, so they would have one hell of a fight.
Yes,
They have Sierra
eminent
Pacific
domain.
protecting us too.
Well, okay, this brings up a whole subject, and actually you can do a whole show.
What's that?
If
On eminent
people
domain,
see,
yes,
if
you can.
people see things, if people witness things, if people experience things, and it doesn't matter whether it's Bigfoot or ghosts or aliens or spacecraft or just any gamut of things, 90% of the people do not tell anybody because they don't want the swarms of reporters coming up and all the looky-loos and the guys with guns that are going to kill whatever it is, and the people with cameras and the people with crystals that are going to go kumbaya, come on down and land again. They don't want that. And people realize that.
Well, not
That's
only
why.
that,
That's why anything in the paranormal. I'm sorry, but I mean, nobody
Well, no, you're right. Because
in the right
people are-
mind will
people
say
look at
anything.
names on
Yeah,
lists.
that's why. Think about this. All the stories that we have out there, of all the stories, whether it's Bigfoot or the aliens or all that stuff, nobody, the few people that say anything, that's all the stories we have.
Yep.
Think about how many stories that aren't told.
Well, and that's why I like.
It means this stuff is happening everywhere.
That's why I like taking
And
S4
people
to
talk
like the
about it. They
fair
don't
and
want
to
their
other
names on the
events
list.
because we like to hear the stories.
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
A lot of people
And
are
hey, I don't
just
have to
embarrassed
put- I don't
because
have to put somebody's
they're not sure
name
what
on
they
a
saw.
stupid list for government's sake. I keep a private list,
well, the
and that
thing
list a lot of times
the thing
disappears.
is, and that's the first comment out of all the cases that we handled with Forest Moon Paranormal. The first comment out of every client we had was, "You're gonna think I'm crazy." That was the first comment.
Wow, dude, I
Hands
saw all
down.
of my stories that
Crazy,
way. It's
but-
so funny.
Yeah.
And so living in the mountains, living in the upriver community, I can guarantee at least 70% of the old timers that have lived up here have had some kind of a Bigfoot encounter. Maybe not encounter, but they've seen tracks. They've
Especially if
had
they hunt or anything like that.
tree knocks.
Because you see a lot of stuff on the trails.
But I was told by a deputy that they won't talk to you, but 90% of the deputies that have worked upriver have had a Sasquatch encounter. But they're not going to talk about it because they're law enforcement. They're not going to tell you.
A lot of them have just run across those stories, and a lot of them have gotten calls from people panicking, saying, "Get your ass up here," and they've witnessed something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so there was one case up here, and I'm not even sure where it was, but the guy was building a shop, and he was in the wood. He was building his a shop in the woods. I believe it was on South Saskatchewan, actually. But he laid his concrete. So he had wet concrete. He left. He went to get lunch. He came back, and there were tracks across his concrete. Now, this guy's pissed off because he's thinking, Oh my God. Kids came up here while I was gone and played in my concrete. He looked at the tracks, and no, they were Bigfoot. They were too big for kids. They were huge.
The question is, did they have sole, like tire,
Nope.
like tread marks?
No,
from
they
the
were Bigfoot tracks.
from the shoes or not?
The guy was terrified. He got his gun, and I don't understand the fear. I really don't. Because coming from my perspective, I'd be excited. I'd be taking pictures. But he left.
I would too.
He left his
Everybody
property.
is. Some people hold a lot of fear in their heart.
They do.
Well, a lot of people are just scared of the unknown.
Well,
They just
yeah,
don't know how to
because
react to
they've
those
heard
instances.
stories of
So
he's heard stories of those that are getting attacked. So,
I do have
you know.
I do have one last question before we have to start wrapping up. Everyone here, I believe, is at one point in time has walked through the woods. Walking through the woods, have you ever got this intense fear that you shouldn't be there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not one of these people that live in a city and I travel up to the mountains or woods a couple times a year and go on an expedition for 3 days. I live in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I am surrounded by forest.
Right.
I mean, I don't see any lights. I don't see any people. There are things up here. And I'm not afraid of everything, but there have been plenty of times where the hair on the back of my neck stands up, and I tell myself, you know what? Maybe I should get off the porch and go in the house.
Now,
I just shouldn't be out here.
now, with that fear,
I don't know why.
Do you think
Maybe it's human instinct.
Do you
Human
think,
instinct.
But do you think Bigfoot can push fear on humans
Ooh,
to get them out of an
telepathically,
area?
I bet.
Oh, that's possible.
Yes.
I bet it
Yes.
can.
That's possible. There's the idea of infrasound.
Would that be as a
I
defense
believe-
mechanism or what?
It's in the animal kingdom. They have lions can do it, tigers can do it, and they've had several other animals where they can.
Here's what I've done.
Yeah.
When I was living on the.
I've been in Nevada. When I was not, excuse me 1 second, I've been in Nevada, and the only time the hair has ever, I've never had that experience in the forest. But I can honestly say I had that in Nevada when I was there for a month taking care of some property, and the coyotes are rampant in a very specific town on a very specific side of town, and I didn't even have to hear the yips before sunset, and the hair went straight up on my body, and I'm like, okay, it's time to close up shop and go to mom's. And that is about a 500-foot walk, and I'm here to tell you that walk was real short, because no sooner than I had my hand on the doorknob to my mom's home, here comes the coyotes, and I'm not joking. There were 6 of them, and they were coming at a dead freaking run, and you didn't hear them. You didn't hear them until you heard their paws and their claws on the gravel. There's a specific kind of sound.
When they're quiet,
The only
it's
time
dangerous.
Oh, you're
Usually the
talking-
coyotes
They're
only
very-
make a lot of noise after they already have a kill.
Oh, you're
But,
talking
Yeah,
about
exactly.
like you said,
the
I
animal.
never
Okay.
experienced coyotes
Everybody's-
run like that.
Everybody is
100%.
talking about just the woods or the animals or something maybe giving you that feeling like maybe I shouldn't be here.
Like not an actual
But quite
predator
honestly,
being there, but
I have walked into bars and had that same feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah,
And
same
I
here.
listen to myself. I turned right back around and I walked out.
Good
No
point.
reason,
Bingo.
didn't see
Developing
anything
discernment.
dangerous, but I knew, you know what? This is not someplace I should be.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
that simple.
Been there. Was in my 20s
Then-
with
Yeah.
with a girlfriend. Walked into a barn, and not 3 feet in, I grabbed her arm and I said, "We're headed out." And she goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "No,
Yep.
we need to go now."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I've had that
boy, did
same
I get!
experience.
She reamed me up one side and down the other, and I'm like, "No, we've got to go."
Mhm.
And whatever there
Yeah,
was
it's
about
important
that
to
place,
develop
we
that
went somewhere
discernment.
else.
Our
went somewhere else.
ancestors that were living in caves and at night and they were afraid of the dark
But-
developed that thing, whatever you want to call it, that is fear of the
Intuition.
unknown. They know
Yeah.
it's intuition. It's something you know. And those are the ones that were, like I said, the ones that said, you know what, maybe I shouldn't go over there. Those are the ones that lived and had kids and passed it on to their kids.
Yeah.
The dummies that went into the dark said, I haven't noticed anything. Well, they end up dead. Well, guess what? They're not going to pass that stupid gene on to the human gene pool. But I think our human gene pool has been polluted, and it's just completely screwed up now, so I don't trust most humans.
Yeah.
So I had an experience where when I was out on this piece of property with the guy where my wife and I were living in. Again, we went out one night. It was me, my son, and the owner of the property, and we thought something was going on in the back part of his property, and we got about halfway out there, and this sphere, the hair come back up on the back of my neck. I've never felt it, and I looked at him, and he goes, "Do you feel that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "We need to go now."
You both felt it.
And
it's time to walk away.
And we got back later, and he to the house where we felt safer, and he's like, something was telling us not to be there.
Yeah.
It that happens that way too. I was up on Iron Goat Trail, and had an experience up there where, I mean, they had a tunnel collapse up there, and there was like 30 people lost their lives and stuff. And and I'll tell you, when you go up there, sometimes you can get a real heavy feeling, and it gives you a very, you need to leave, get out of here, kind of feeling, and it's just such a heavy, overwhelming feeling when you go there, and not just to me who's sensitive, but to other people who aren't sensitive have had the same kind of feeling there. And I think sometimes, just not knowing what it is that's giving you that kind of little bit of fear sense, you know what I mean? It just, most people don't know how to react to that, to the hairs on the back of your neck standing up or whatever. They just, they ignore it, or, it's,
And
I'm
then they get the rocks thrown
I'm just
at them.
cold, whatever. Well,
and it's not just the woods and critters out there. It's not just maybe Bigfoot or bear or mountain lions, and it's not just maybe there's an alien in the woods, or humans in a bar. I remember walking into an old restored Victorian house one time, and I just walked in the threshold, and I got the most ominous damn feeling.
Yep.
And it was that same feeling that I get when I'm in the woods and it's time to walk away.
Yeah.
I turned around and walked out.
So I wonder if it can give you that. I wonder
so
if
it's a whole new thing of the paranormal.
Just like you can get that feeling of like when there's something like supernatural that's there that does that to you. I wonder if Bigfoot can give you that same kind of heebie-jeebie, like
on purpose.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I think so.
Just to get you out of his territory.
Oh,
or away from his baby.
Well, I was getting that vibe that
he doesn't want to be around people.
Or away from something that's going to harm you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? So I was picking mushrooms one time and I had a cat that was up. It was up on this like dead snagged log that was laying down, and it had been following me, and I didn't even realize that it had been following me. And when I finally caught just a little bit of movement out of the side of my eye, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But my trigger had been going off like for a while. That fear trigger, to let me know that something wasn't right. But I was kind of like, whatever, I just a couple more mushrooms. Probably wasn't a good idea. Pushed it a little too far that time. But that warning's there for a reason, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
You have your body. I mean, this is thousands of years of evolution are telling people certain things. You have to listen. If you get the feeling I shouldn't be here, don't question it. Don't say, "Well, I'm brave." Just leave.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt anything, and it might save your life.
And on this note, Nikki, how do listeners find you for any kind of psychic advice?
Facebook right now still. So it's facebook.com and then Nikki, Nikki .Jacobs, JACOBS .376. And they can private message me there, or private message me on my other Facebook page, which is Nikki Jacobs Psychic Medium.
Excellent.
They're all connected.
And Harmony, where can we find Wild Crafting?
Wildcraft Wellness is my YouTube page, and you can also find it on Facebook as well. And my book, Birthing a New Paradigm, you can find on my website, wildcraftwellness.net. You can also find it on Amazon and get a copy there on Kindle, online, or you can get a hard copy mailed to you as well. And then you can get a signed copy inscribed on Etsy if you want that as well, on Wildcraft Wellness on Etsy. So, yeah, you can find me on Facebook under Harmony Lorraine Fronterhouse, and also on Instagram under Harmony Fronterhouse Wildcraft.
Excellent. And Rebecca, where can we find Mad Hatter Metalworks?
Facebook, Mad Hatter Metalworks. Real easy.
Yeah.
or come on down and check out our newly remodeled gallery.
And you have classes you're starting off.
Yep,
Yeah.
we have art classes available. We also are doing some entertainment stuff down there where we're going to have, open mic nights and jam sessions, and we look forward to having people from the community come into our nice, alcohol-free zone and hang out with us and check out some cool art and learn how to do it yourself.
Excellent.
Oh, that sounds fun.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to catch me and Eric at the Marblemount Community Hall next weekend for the Marblemount Bigfoot Festival.
Excellent. And we will only be there the 28th. And the hours are from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be there Saturday, live streaming the event. Come down, tell us your stories, get our card. Obviously, you're listening to the show now, but tell your friends if they're not listening to the show, they need to tune in. But come down and see us.
And for the rest of you, you can find S4 anytime on any of your local podcasting areas, just like Amazon Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, any of the apps that you get on your phones, you can find us on. Also, you'll be able to find us soon again on KSVU 90.1. Local and Concrete.
Yep.
Concrete Hamilton.
Yes.
Haha.
Oh, they changed Concrete Hamilton now? Okay.
It's Concrete Hamilton now.
All
yes,
right.
I'm a DJ over there. I know.
Yeah.
You got to say it right.
Outstanding. All right, so next week on the show, we will have an alien, all things alien roundtable. So don't miss out. And again, the schedule for the rest of the year is going to be up soon. And stay safe this week, folks. And with that, remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at S-4 Radio. Remember to head over to Facebook, give us a like, and show your support. Are you feeling left out? Did you not get enough? Remember, you can always find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, iTunes, and anywhere else you get your podcast globally. Join us every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for S-4 Paranormal Radio. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies.